These are the lengths we go to, guys. These are the lengths we go to make sure you guys get a quality show every week. You know? What are you doing?
I don't like this quality. I'm testing the quality of this.
Of your face? Yeah, it's
this
terrible.
camera. Testing the quality of this camera. Okay. Minimize that. And it's already 25 megabytes.
So,
I
guys,
really hope I have enough space.
let's just say we listen to the concerns of our listeners. So, issue one with listeners has been us eating on mic, which we're not doing anymore.
There's too many places. They're okay.
We-
Audition is recording now as well.
We no longer record
Okay,
on
I think
mic.
I'm recording everything.
And then someone who thinks they're clever, like a clever doggy, try to give us feedback on energy levels. You're lucky you're not within swinging range, because I'd swing on you. I actually want to swing. Imagine saying, yo, the way you start the show is low energy, even though you record a 2-hour episode with insightful points, humor, levity. But, those 2 minutes in the beginning, that's what matters. If you don't.
No, Philip, don't read too much into certain things. Sometimes it's just feedback. We take the feedback on board, or we decide not to follow up. It's okay, you know what I mean? People can share. It's all good. Ain't no problems whatsoever. You know what I'm saying?
Dan.
Okay, I need to click OK on Zoom. There's too many places I need to click OK, Phil.
I don't want to actually, I want to play it, but then I know we'll get taken down, so let me not. Have you listened to the new Doji?
No, but I've heard Phil, just before we started recording, Phil kept asking me, have you done this? Have you done that? I've done nothing.
Neither have I, but
This
I
week.
still found a way to, dude, I don't know how TDE does it. But dang.
I like Doji.
No, this project is,
Is her name Chido, and she just like
yeah, exactly.
flipped it over to make her artist name?
She's from Chitungis.
I figured.
She's from Chitungis.
I thought she was Zimbabwe.
She's got a song called Shy Town on a project addressing like her love for Chitungis. And now she used to catch combis from Chi-Town to Roadport.
Man,
So yeah.
shut up to Chido, Dochi. Hey,
Dochi.
you know what? Let's get into it, because there's a couple of things I want to address real quick, Phil. There's the problem with going viral. You know what I'm saying? The problem with going viral.
Wait, who went viral?
Hey, wait. Let's just get into it first. Let's get into it.
Jump up in the club, everybody gather round. 2 broke Twimbos in the town. Listen close to the sound. Now me that guy and feel charged. Baby bringing the fun. With the podcast vibes, we not stop till the morning sun. Every episode got me laughing, can't control my smile. With the unique style, from Zimbabwe to the world, spreading good vibes, keeping it real and entertaining. They're on the rise. 2 Twimbos, bring the heat to the floor. Everybody get guy and feel charged in control. So keep moving to the podcast flow.
Hey.
Oh, yeah. We are keep moving to the podcast flow. Oh, yeah.
Ow. Hey, listen, if you're just joining us over from TikTok, welcome. I'm gonna have to share some things, some house rules, some things you need to keep in
I love
mind.
the faith you have that you think TikTok is converting. Like, how many listeners do you think actually came from TikTok? Like, give me an estimate there.
Phil, we went viral.
Phil.
143 views, Phil. Balling in these streets, yo. 143. 144. No, I'm kidding. We didn't really go viral, but us.
When we're starting from nothing,
you know what I'm saying? Anything is something.
7,000 views feels like virality.
I had to go turn off all notifications. I never had notifications off on TikTok because I never got any notifications from TikTok. Then all of a sudden, we made it over to NRZ TikTok.
I saw.
Welcome if you're listening to the podcast.
I saw, and I was like, yay. I was so mad before I realized this is satire. Life is really not that deep. Laughing emojis. Y'all need to take a deep breath and relax. Next comment. Guys. Huh? People can't. You always find conspiracy theories. Rolling eye emoji. You know the wild thing is that why are you responding to every single comment? You know what?
Phil,
first and foremost,
I know how the game works.
First and foremost,
I know how the game works.
Let's give Dan some thanks. Like mentally, I don't have it in me to run social media accounts anymore. So shout out to Dan for holding on the foot. He's been doing a good job. Shout out to him. But yeah, we're knee deep. I would have muted this post if it was me. Jack.
It's not gonna. No, Phil. I know how it works. Okay, I know how it works.
Oh wait, right? Dan, we're missing on the best comment yet.
You receive a response. You respond back. You come back to the post. The algorithm is just picking it up. Oh snap! Oh, how many views are we on now, Phil?
Okay, well, I'm not gonna get into that.
200.
The best comment so far. So what Dan is alluding to is every week he now posts like 3 to 4 videos from the episode. One of the videos he posted was us clearly joking about the ridiculous story in H Metro about Duke and Slay being a hotbed for Satanism. So we're poking fun at that. Anyone who listens to the podcast clearly would have understood that, laughed at it. I found that funny myself listening back to it last week. But then here's a comment from someone.
I was like, no.
And see, this is not satire, by the way, this person's comment. It's a confirmation on my side. Been there once, and a vision came.
Now, I thought it was someone playing along. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was someone who's part of the game. So I was like, you see the vision, my sister. And then the response.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, for real.
We are misled by very simple things, and initiation is very easy for them. Was your hands, and I think it's wash your hands. I don't know. What did I say? Was your hands and they got you? I think maybe I say wash your hands and they got you. I don't know, but yeah. We out here. Somehow, we're now knee deep in Hotep NRZ Twitter. Which is
Red Pill, NRZ. Speaking of which, again today, or was it yesterday? I can't even remember now. Time is a blur. I made a random joke. You know the normal social media debate of, hey, why is it that men get upset if you post a picture that you sent them? You post it on your social media and then they get upset.
Mm-hmm.
Then I said, how would you feel if your man gave you money by throwing it at you and your friends? If you're throwing it in the air at you and your friends. You still got the money, right? But your friends also got some.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just kidding, man. It's not serious. I don't really believe that. I'm just messing around. Social media, ha, ha, ha. But this man is cooking. Yeah, this man is cooking. Tell those women. I'm like, hey, whoa.
No.
Hey, listen, if you...
Did you delete the
If you've
post?
come to this podcast...
Did you delete the post?
No, I didn't. I mean...
Then I love how you assume that
Simple followers.
the people who, let's be honest, are not bright enough to see satire will somehow see the post, go to our profile, read the bio, because there's no click-through from the bio, then leave the app completely, go to their podcast app or their browser, search our name, get to our website, or find us within the podcast app, hit subscribe, and then select auto download. That's a lot of steps, bruh. That's a lot of steps.
All I'm saying is they figured out how to put comments in DJ Ola's posts. So, you know, anything is possible in this day and age.
True. You know it.
But if by some miraculous chance you have joined the podcast from any of these places, welcome. Allow me to let you know that, number one, we're not that type of podcast. We're not looking for controversy. In fact, I kind of look down on podcasts that look for controversy. It feels very cheap and it feels very manufactured and it's clickbait, and that's not who we are. We're just trying to have conversation. Of course, sometimes we'll talk about stuff that's trending or stuff that's relevant. But in general, we're trying to bring common sense discussions to media, pop culture, technology. And it's two guys from Zimbabwe. So, you know, we're going to talk about Zim as well. So that's what this podcast is about. If you're here like, yeah, I can't wait to hear these guys cook. I'm sorry.
And
I'm
do
sorry.
you know the
Danny J has an episode out, maybe. I don't know.
he's gonna kick your ass.
I mean, Danny J, my man.
He's
I'm just saying he has a different style of podcast. He courts controversy. You know what I'm saying?
gonna kick your ass. But for listeners, regular listeners of the podcast, that's actually funny take from Dan, because that's kind of why we stopped doing This Week in Hotep, or we kind of pulled back on it, because people stopped getting the joke and they thought we were being serious.
Not everyone, obviously, some people.
And yeah, and then you know the same thing we talk about. Like sometimes, like if you're not resonating with the manosphere, it's like we had to take a step back a little. You know what I mean?
No, if you see more than 3 men have sent you a message that says you're cooking, you need to take a moment and just be like, what did I say?
And how can it be misinterpreted?
That has really, yeah, it's the same. Also, if women are like, yeah, this is how a real man thinks, you also have to step back and like, okay, I think I've overcorrected and gone too far the other side. You need to be in a balanced central space.
That's what we're all about here. Like Central C. You know what I mean? We are Central C.
Speaking of which, Americans. Wait, Phil, we haven't even started the podcast.
Americans have what?
Let's get into it. I was gonna say they've discovered UK rap because of that one TikTok dude who did a feature on Dave.
Once again, Dan.
You know the guy who says,
yes, I know Javi. I know.
Problem.
But also, like,
Yeah.
how do you know they discovered him? Like, what are the metrics? What metrics are we using to determine this?
Phil. This is Phil. I'm not CNN. Yeah, this is not Al Jazeera. Okay, this is a podcast where I sometimes say unverified things based on one-time events. There was a TikTok with 500,000 views talking about a British rapper, and in the comments there were Americans saying, yo, this dude is actually dope. That's what I'm referring to. I'm not making empirical statements with evidence and analytics to back it up.
No, you know evidence, no analytici. To
quote the comments in our TikTok, it's not that deep. Exactly. Anyway, I have to ask Phil. You, audience, old and new, are y'all
good to go? Sound of the thing, them. Hey. Get mad now.
Let me hear a drum play.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast. The Two Broke Twimbos are back one more again, bringing you your favorite content. Manosphere content here. We got no red pill things over here. This is just common sense. This is education. This is knowledge. My name is Danny That Guy, a.k.a. Danos, the Mad Titan, a.k.a. Denford Wekumaraini, a.k.a. Denimbi, My Life Your Entertainment, a.k.a. I'm done with these streets. Give me back the credentials for the Zim Cricket social media account, a.k.a. Akuna Mumwendi Danmu.
That's right. He's not only the unmistakable, the irrefutable, the unquestionable, the undeniable Phil Chart, a.k.a. Flame Flaws, the Big Boss, a.k.a. Pizza P, a.k.a. Sexington Lovu.
Feel your energy.
A.k.a. Filthy Phil.
We got feedback.
A.k.a. DJ Mkarat. A.k.a. Phil on Musk. And of course, Shamori, you take it or drink. I actually wanted to bring this up. Then I realized we forgot to talk about this. This is a tragic piece of news, and I think we'd be remiss without paying homage to this person, this man, because a lot of our mannerisms are derived from the stuff he's done for us and the stuff he released. So shout out to Crooklyn.
I put it there in the talking parts.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Like right there, right under. Start the show with this.
So let's start up. Hey.
Bass drop. Ow. You got $100 bill, get your hands up. You got a $50 bill, get your hands up. You got a $20 bill, get your hands up. You got a $10 bill, get your hands up. Single ladies, I can't hear y'all. Single ladies, make noise. Single ladies, I can't hear y'all. Single ladies, make noise. All the chicken heads, be quiet. All the chicken heads, be quiet. All the chicken heads, be quiet. Yeah, baby, Fatman Scoop, face 7, sing along, come on. All the good looking women sing along. I can't hear
your zodiac sign.
What's your zodiac sign? I can't hear y'all. What's your zodiac sign? Yeah. Out. If you got more hair, get your hands up. If you got short hair, make noise. If you got more hair, get your hands up. If you got short hair, make noise. If you got more hair on your head, ladies. If you got more hair on your head. If you got long hair on your head, from your ear to your sleeve, even if you got a wig. Can I get up? Can I get up? Can I get up?
Yo!
Yeah.
What a guy, man. What a guy.
You know what? I actually forgot to look this up. You know, Dan, we once got a Fatman Scoop drop.
Did we?
Well, I did with Ray. Let me pull it up. I wanted to get the full one, but for some reason I can't find it in my files.
Okay, while you pull it up.
Fatman Scoop, Brooklyn Clan, Timberland. Fatman Scoop, Brooklyn Clan, Timberland. Whatever I say, y'all gotta do. Whatever I say, y'all gotta do. Whatever I say, y'all gotta do. Y'all too.
Oh Lord, guess who's coming? Timberland, aka Field Drummers. Who gon' get it crunk like me, Timberland?
You know what, Phil?
Fatman, we guaranteed to make the
Mr. Club himself, Mr. Turn Up. Sad news that we got this week that Fatman Scoop died, 56, collapsed in the middle of a performance. Very sad situation. His family reacted, obviously. That iconic voice, even if you're sitting there like, I've never heard of Fatman Scoop. You've definitely heard those ad-libs, those intros, those bits on the songs, the hype. It's you absolutely have been affected by the energy that Fatman Scoop brought into this world, and it was very sad.
Dan, silence. I think I found it. Give me. But I need to clear the channel because I'm playing with USB.
Before we start to turn it out,
We must first begin to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Let's see.
One. All right, Ray. Just got back from overseas, so I had to make sure that I got this to you pretty quickly.
So yeah, this is the full. I got the full raw drop that he sent through to us, man. We linked up with him at a show, and he was kind enough to send this through with everything, man.
You this Fatman Scoop, Ray Diz, Fatman Scoop, Ray Diz, Fatman Scoop, Ray Diz, Fatman Scoop, Ray Diz.
So,
Yo, what's
quick
up, y'all?
question.
This is Fatman Scoop, and you're rocking with Africa's most lit DJ, the most lit, the most incredibly lit. He's lit, DJ Ray Diz. Let's go.
That's so dope, man. So, like, okay. So say Ray puts out a full, like, a single, right?
Mm-hmm.
With that intro on it. Fatman Scoop, Ray Diz.
We did 7 years
Would
ago.
you have label issues?
No, we didn't because we cleared it with him. Because we did Don't Delay with Roberto and Ray Diz. I mean, and Cybertex.
This is Fatman Scoop, and you're rocking with
Yeah.
Africa's most lit DJ, the most lit DJ Ray Diz. Let's go.
Ooh, yeah.
That's lit. If I were Ray Diz,
You're about to say something
that
very
old
corny.
Fatman Scoop, Timberland, I would mix Fatman Scoop, Ray Diz, Fatman Scoop, Ray Diz. Oh Lord, guess who coming? Timberland. Man. What absolute GOAT level of hyping up? Do you know what I'm saying? Nah, man. Do you remember there was the I don't know now if this is official, but it was the famous mix of Brick and Lace with Fatman Scoop's thing on it.
Mhm.
And that became like the standard Brick and Lace version, even though it wasn't the original version.
Yeah.
Anyway, very sad news. And we just wanted to give flowers to the incredible Mr. Hype Man, Mr. Club Music, Mr. Turn It Up himself, Mr. If you got a $10 bill, put your hands up. Fatman Scoop, who sadly passed away this week. And yeah, that's some very sad news. But we celebrate with high energy. Phil, don't you think maybe it's time? We've done dancehall for a while. In honor of Fatman Scoop, I wonder if we should change our hype intro. Just give it a fresh feel.
To a copywritten song.
No, not to a copywritten song, but we've got cleared drops. All we need is just a little bit of ingenuity, And rather than us going with Wagwande, you know, we move in a different direction. You got a $10 bill? You know what I'm saying? We can think of, anyway, it's something we can think
This
about.
is going in a very
Sometimes-
concerning order. But okay.
No, think about it, Phil. Think about it, Phil. There's opportunities here to do something new. This podcast is 10 years old, Phil. You know, we can do some new stuff. Anyway, let's take a moment to talk about some Africans doing it big. A couple of Zimbabweans I want to shout out. One is an author. His name is Farai Mudzingwa, who has been longlisted for the inaugural Canex Prize for his debut novel, Avenues by Train. He was one of 13 writers who made the list for out of 85 submissions that came through from 10 African countries. So shout out to Farai Mudzingwa. And I do want to give shout outs to writers, because I feel like writers get very little shine in this day and age, unless your name is George R.R. Martin and you get the shine for the wrong reason. So congratulations for being recognized by the Canex Prize. Secondly, Zimbabwean actress Chimwemwe Chipidza was named first runner-up at the African Monologue Challenge. It was a competition that was put in place in Uganda to land some talent to star in a Pan-African blockbuster film. So she entered that challenge and she won first runner-up. So congratulations to her. She competed against finalists from many different African countries. So maybe we will see her in this upcoming as yet unnamed movie. So exciting to see that we got actors, we got authors, you know, some different types of art just also existing in this space. That's one thing it's low-key depressed me a little bit, that I feel like there's so little room. You know, today I was having a conversation with a film producer. There's a film coming out shortly. It's called Al-Kebulan, which putting our Hotep on. In fact, this is why we have the Hotep music. Before I tell this story, let's just get in the right mood.
Oh, snap! Dan, we know Chimwemwe.
What do you mean?
I recognize the name. Chimwemwe, she used to do a lot of work with Shoko Festival. So remember the year we were emceeing. She was the assistant to the stage manager.
Oh, very cool. Why do you remember that?
Because her name is very unique.
So anyway, getting back into my Hotep bag. You see, some Pan-Africanists, some people with their third eyes open, they believe that the original name of Africa, before the name Africa was given to us, was Al-Kebulan. Al-Kebulan is rumored to have meant mother of mankind or Garden of Eden. So there's a belief that before the white man came here, we knew that the continent of Africa was called Al-Kebulan. Well, some Zimbabweans and some other people from Africa, particularly from Rwanda, have come together to put a very interesting, it's actually a very interesting concept for a film, time travel, and it's like someone comes in from the past and then there's a different timeline and there's a multiverse. It's like a whole crazy thing. Someone coming in from 13th century Africa and how things happening now are affect. I don't know the full story. Obviously, I haven't watched the film, but judging from the trailer, that's what the story is. And starring Ja Praiser.
Nice.
That's crazy, right? Well, he doesn't have like the lead role, but obviously he's got like a role in the film. So the film's coming out, I think it's the end of like September. So I was talking to some of the producers of that film and I was like, yo, this sounds so dope. Like, and I had been feeling like, man, I wish we also had, like we should have, I know we have books, but we should have a ton of dope books. I know we have films that have been made, but we should have film. We should have bad films and good films and okay, we should have them. Just let them be there. That's the only way that the industry will progress. There should be all kinds of films. And you know, it was just exciting to me to hear that there's this kind of film that's kind of like a sci-fi fantasy film about 13th century Africa and time travel. Man, sign me up. And I don't care if I sit in that film and I'm like, yo, this is trash. I will come out and say that was 10 out of 10 movie, no notes.
Oh, really?
Just for the first maybe 3 or 4 so that we get the ball rolling. Then we chill out a bit. And you see, I'm already traumatized. Why am I already thinking, what if it's bad? I have no reason to think it'll be bad or good. Anyway, check it out. The trailer's on YouTube. The trailer's been on YouTube for like 2 months or something already. And I'm like, yo, how come I didn't see this? Al-Kebulan Garden of Eden. So coming out, the premiere will be on I think it's the 20-something of September. All right. Yes, follow up from previous episodes. Yeah, so like Phil alluded to earlier, there's a couple of videos. I mean, we're recording this podcast with video on. We don't have super high fidelity video equipment. We're just using our webcams. I mean, I actually bought like a fancy-ish webcam so that we could have kind of okay video, but it's not like, it's not like cinematic video. And so we've been just putting up little clips of the podcast. The whole idea is to promote it and let people discover it. And I'm trying to find like relevant clips, or sometimes I try to find jokes, or sometimes when we talk about stuff. Anyway, I really, really want to underline that we're not that type of podcast. Those who've been here know, but those who are new or who are relatively new might not know. We're not here trying to court controversy. We're not trying to trend. Someone asked me like, why don't you do this? Then you'll trend. That's not what we're trying to do. We don't want to trend. We just want the right people to find. Phil, it's so nice to have that, like the community we have in the Patreon group. It's so dope, man. Like we have conversations about stuff that happens. Some of it never makes it to the podcast. But you have this community of people who have common sense and who have knowledge in different areas. Sometimes we'll be like, "Ooh, there's a finance story, blah, blah, blah. What's your take?" Or here's a politics story, how far? It's dope. And I love that. And I want to build that community with the right people. So if we don't trend and we are not 1 million viewers or 1 million listeners, the better. I just wanted to address that and say that. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
But I do want people to still discover the podcast. I know there's plenty of people that would enjoy it. And you who are listening right now, it falls on you to help us get this podcast to the right people so we can have the right community. Even if you're not in the Patreon group, of course, it would be great if you were. But even if you're not in the Patreon group, we know that there's a group of people that are listening. They're waiting for common sense takes. And not to say that we're always right. Sometimes people will disagree with our opinions, but at least you get to hear someone who's not, you know that we're not just saying stuff for views or to rage bait. And I think that's so rare. And it's so beautiful to know that even if you disagree with me, you're listening to my authentic opinion. You're never going to think, nah, Dan or Phil just said that because they want viewers or because they want to trend. Because we've already shown that that's not what we want to do. So we're literally discussing ideas and ideologies and concepts. It's such a dope and rare space to be in. Today I did a presentation in front of a group of marketers, and I was asked to do a presentation on global trends in advertising and media. And something that I shared with everyone, which took a lot of people aback, was I shared some predictions of what I anticipate is going to happen in media and advertising in the coming years. And I said, I predict that content, brands, or products that are labeled as authentically human or authentic are going to get, there's going to be an increase in the demand for such products, for such media and such brands. Because everything is algorithm based or AI developed or trying to get the views or trying to trend. So the idea that something is authentic, this is real. This is not someone who's just saying something crazy so that people will say, oh my God, this is just people having a conversation like you would have if you were chilling with your friends. You know what I'm saying? With your well-educated friends. Not to say we are well-educated, but my point, you get my point. Anyway, so I just wanted to address that after seeing our trending video with 232 views. Something else to follow up, Phil, from previous episodes. I see you put in here this story that came through from Uganda, this very sad story. It's a terrible story, but why is it in the follow-up?
No, I was going to put it in the preamble, but
okay,
it
cool.
was in the wrong place. But yeah, well, since we're already here, Rebecca Chiptigai, the middle and long distance runner from Uganda. For those of you that might have heard last week, she was involved in a case of domestic violence where her boyfriend burnt her, and she was in critical care in hospital. Sadly, she has now succumbed to those injuries and passed away this morning. And it was just obvious that was very sad. And I was just seeing some commentary from women who were rightfully so expressing their anger and outrage about the situation. Dan, I don't know if you've read the story of what's going on in France right now.
Like I've mentioned, if anything happened this week, I didn't hear
this
about
story, like trigger warning. Trigger warning. In fact, we should have put a trigger warning before the story. Sorry. But this if you're triggered by the previous story, please, there's a trigger warning of rape coming up. So there's a story out there in France. I don't want to mention names, but so someone was caught at a supermarket trying to take videos and photos up women's skirts at the supermarket. They then apprehended his phone and was arrested. During the process of his arrest and them searching his phone, they found other videos of sexual assaults, rape. They then used that to start searching his home computer. And then he had a flash drive. And on the flash drive, he had a folder that basically said in English assaults, but it was the French version of that. And in there was multiple videos of around 90 cases of rape against his own wife. So this man would post on a forum called Coco, and pretty much offer his wife to be sexually assaulted. He would then drug his wife and would instruct these individuals when they'd come by his house, make sure you don't wear aftershave, you don't wear cologne, and you wash your hands so she doesn't know who's doing this to her. And so far, about 50 men have been caught, but a few are still on the run or have been unidentified. And it's crazy. Like, the story gets more harrowing because yesterday, so the first thing that the victim, his wife, did after discovering this and now taking him to court was she refused for this court proceeding to happen behind closed doors because that's a right she could have so that it could protect her anonymity. She was like, no, this guy's a monster. It has to happen in the public so that everyone that was involved in this can be taken down. So shout out to her for the bravery, but it's a horrible situation nonetheless. So this is happening. And then during court proceedings, his family are there. And this is a man who's in his 70s, who's seen to be a normal, upstanding citizen. During the course of this investigation, they now discovered that there was a potential rape that he committed in Paris in the 90s. And then he fled to the city he was in. And then it got even more harrowing because his daughter's there. And I'm not sure what state of mind the daughter was in, but after this, it got a lot worse because the court revealed that they had now found evidence that he had also drugged and facilitated the sexual assault of his daughter in the same way he had these men assault his wife. Then she stormed out the court, obviously shocked. I don't know how it works. Wouldn't they want to give someone a heads up? But anyway, the intricacies of the French court are not to be discussed here. But yeah, that's happening. Then there's a 14-year-old who killed an elderly woman in England, I believe, yesterday. Then there was also a school shooting in America where a 14-year-old killed two 14-year-old students and two teachers, in America as well. It's just been a lot happening. And, women just don't feel safe. And they were just sharing some pretty disturbing stories. Like, people were just like, like you guys keep saying, like, we should be safe, we should do this. We've done everything you said. Here's an example. The wildest one was a woman commented on all these tweets, right? And just like, so it seems like the only place we'll be safe from sexual assault is in the grave. And then someone was like, actually, not true. Then they put a screenshot of an article from BBC that says parents in Pakistan are now padlocking graves to stop grave diggers from digging them up and raping the corpses. It's like, yo. Anyway, as Dan said, we keep it lighthearted on this podcast.
I know some people have a different take to this, but I often think in general I have a sunny disposition and a I think I'm generally a jovial person. I think in general I see the brighter side of life. You know what I'm saying? In general, I'm always there to crack a joke. But if I were to really pay attention to some of the, like when I saw that story of the Ugandan athlete, you know, it's such a bleak, like, why, what, like, do you know what I mean?
Yep.
I have to actively avoid these kind of stories. Otherwise, I won't be that person.
That's fair.
And I know some people feel differently because there's people suffering, and you know you need to be aware of this, and we need to fight for them. And I get that, and I'm not denying it. I actively avoid these kind of stories. So now that you've told me the story, I do recall seeing a headline, and I remember almost instinctively passing by, like, I can't read this. Can't.
Yeah.
So please don't view me as insensitive when I move over and move on to the next thing. I have fully recognized that this is the reality for many women, for many people even, actually. And not to make light of it, but if I were to dwell on some of these things, the light would go out from my eyes, Philip. So I think I've figured out how to swiftly move on from hearing some of these stories, because otherwise, I don't know, man. I'd be in these streets with a Molotov cocktail, because what the hell?
Oh, there's another story. I just reminded of.
No,
we'll discuss this off air. It's someone you might know that was doing a madness, but we'll discuss that off air.
Aye. Speaking about the French courts, last week we spoke about, was it last week or 2 weeks before, we spoke about the founder of Telegram who was detained.
Nice segue, Dad. Nice segue. I think the only segue better than that one would have been like a French Open headline. Like, speaking of the French courts, Novak Djokovic stormed back.
That would have been a clever... Speaking of love, that's exactly how much Novak Djokovic's opponent. So we spoke in previous episodes, we spoke about the Telegram founder and CEO, co-founder and CEO, technically, Pavel Durov. I think Pavel is the correct way to say it, or Pavel. I've forgotten now.
Big P! Just call him Big P! You're good.
He had been detained, I think arrested is the right word in France, over these issues. Some more information has come out over time. Since then, he's been released. And it's given me some extra thoughts about it. So, number one, first of all, Pavel is he's not like some bright-eyed, idealist in Silicon Valley who just so happened to believe that, everything will be all right in the end. No, he's a bit of a shady dude.
But yeah,
but
he's also had what's the word? He's had his naivete ripped from him, because his first platform, Vladimir was like, "Hey, buddy, pass it over. Thank you. Now go. You've done enough."
No,
go.
but okay. So the French authorities did not reveal why they arrested him.
They did,
but at first, I mean, when we spoke about it at first, all we knew is that he was, and we were speculating. But since then, they have revealed that the reason they arrested him is because he was not cooperating. And not in the sense of, oh, I've seen your request for information, but I can't give it to you because encryption. No, because he literally ignored every single request that came through from the French authorities. So remember in our discussion, and this is, I guess, is our tech ombudsman section, but it's a follow-up. We were discussing like, but is Telegram or any of these social or messaging platforms, are they carriers or are they publishers? Should you be allowed to hold someone to task because of what people do on your platform? Or da. France was like, no. You don't even have to. No. You don't even have to go that far. Actually, all we did was say, listen, there is some illegal activity happening on your site. Please help us with some information or talk to us or even just cooperate in any other way. And my man said, nothing. Zilch. Nada. Zip. A whole government was constantly reaching out to him and he was ignoring them. Blue tick. like he a light-skinned girl. And what happens? Eventually they were like, oh, you coming to our country? I bet. Detained. Now answer these questions that we had for you. So in that case, I'm kind of like, you know what? I get it. Like, even if your response is, I hear your request. However, I can't give you that information because I believe in privacy. I can't reveal who's using. In fact, I don't even know because it's all encrypted. That's different.
But
If he had been
that's the
arrested
thing
for
is
that,
like Telegram is not encrypted. That's the other thing. Like,
yeah. I mean, even if he had lied.
but they would have seen through it. I think the other thing here is there were requests for him to remove, as we discussed last week. We're not going to give you the full one because you should go back and listen. CSAM. So we had alluded that it might be CSAM related. Turns out it was. And once again, all other platforms in the subsequent stories have come out. I think there was an article in The Verge in particular that was like, yo, all these other platforms have units dedicated to CSAM. So, and they work closely with law enforcement in various territories. So whenever they receive information of CSAM, or they fingerprint a video or an image that's being shared widely, they can fingerprint and hash it. And then if you share it, they'll know, like, okay, this account is sharing the stuff. Let's investigate its intent, or let's hand over that information to the police. Even that wasn't happening, which is wild. The other thing that Pavel was doing is he was running a skeleton crew of mainly independent contractors, which is great for profitability, but it's also bad for accountability because now governments, it's bad for Pavel, is like a government can't go to your CSO or your CFO or your COO. They have to come to you because everyone else is an independent contractor by your design because you don't have a board.
I don't know if it's true, but I read somewhere that Telegram as a company has a staff complement of 30.
Yes, that's true.
I just did a quick Google.
That is true.
Remember, you may recall that last week we said that Telegram has 1 billion users, all managed by 30 people. That's obviously that's insane. You can't even begin to talk about any kind of moderation. It's let alone managing people. Everything's managed by automated systems and 30 employees.
We're independent contractors, by the way.
And they're not even full-time, they're independent contractors. So the only person they could reach out to was the founder and CEO, Pavel Durov. Honestly, if you think about it, it's low-key genius from a money-making perspective.
Until this comes up, and then how genius is your money-saving endeavor?
Just imagine, Phil. Just imagine. I don't know if you're familiar with the backstory of WhatsApp. We're now in this tech bag. Nerdy bags over here.
Yes, okay. This is what the ladies love us.
So, I've forgotten people's names. This is so bad. That's one of my... Okay, the founder of WhatsApp. Phil, the founder of WhatsApp. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to quickly...
the guy, the Jewish guy.
Jan Koum. Jan Koum, I think he was Ukrainian Jewish or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? I think so. Anyway, he founded WhatsApp. The story is actually quite wild about how WhatsApp came about. Very interesting. He basically took advantage when the iPhone first launched. It was just meant to be a status, like literally available or not available, and then eventually expanded into messaging, and then eventually it became a whole thing. And it came at just the right time because SMSs were getting out of hand, and it was expensive, and people were paying for plans for SMSs, and somehow chat rooms just weren't considered the equivalent. The genius that Jan had and his partner, who was Brian Acton, the genius that they had is rather than using a username, each person will be identified by their phone number, which I can't believe no one had thought of before because it's literally SMS but over the internet. But anyway, these guys are the first ones to actually implement it. I don't know if they were the first ones to think of it, and the rest, as they say, is history. As WhatsApp grew at such an incredible rate, Mark Zuckerberg, Google, and I believe, I think WeChat, I can't remember who else was interested. Everyone was interested in buying it, right? At the same time, Jan Koum didn't have the resources. Like, all of a sudden, your users in the millions, tens of millions, he didn't have the resources to run the servers and to, you know what I'm saying? And I think at this point, WhatsApp had several 100 million users. So Mark Zuckerberg comes along. He says, listen, how much you want? And the story of how he came up with the figure, I think it was 30 billion. Is that how much WhatsApp was bought for?
Wasn't it 18?
Quickly check. Yes, you're right. It was 18 billion in both cash and stock. No one had a way of actually measuring how much is it worth. But he was just like, let me think of what was recently bought. Oh, okay, some of these companies were bought for this much and this for this much. I think it should be this much. And Zuck was like, I bet, let's go. I'll tell my lawyers to work it out. And the thing is, he said, I will only sell to you if you agree to never have advertising in WhatsApp. I'm sure Zuckerberg was like, I'll agree, but obviously once it's mine. Unfortunately, the lawyers put it in all the contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And the penalty for breaking that condition involved literally billions of dollars that was tied in equity to Jan. So I don't know the exact details of how every single dollar worked, but essentially Mark Zuckerberg was tied into this corner that he can't put advertising into WhatsApp without suffering a penalty that is worth billions of dollars, which is why to this day we don't have advertising in WhatsApp, which is surprising if you think about it. Telegram does not have that restriction, and it has 1 billion users. I'm just saying, you have 30 employees who are freelance. I would be buying the moon right now. I would be like, how much for Mexico? Yes,
But
the whole country.
that's probably what it's doing. Well, you know how you got caught, right? He was flying into France with a baddie.
Yeah.
Because he has dual citizenship
Who
between
was
France
posting
and the UAE.
like, I'm over here with my billionaire mans. Oh my God.
And they were like, wonderful. You know, you're making our life
No,
so
but
easy.
I mean, he was flying on a private. I saw the narrative. I saw the agenda that the baddie is the one who got him caught.
Well, both. I think.
but-
I think it would be naive to not think that, at the very least, her posts gave them a tip that he might be around. That's why they then searched the plane and requested the manifest.
The manifest, yeah. I mean, that may be the case, but there was a warrant out for his arrest. So the moment his name appeared,
But that's the other thing is, he knew a warrant was off his. Why was he flying into France? He must have flown in before. When a
baddie says,
Nah, I want to go to the original Chanel.
you know,
where's this baddie from?
what can you do?
Where's this baddie from?
I don't know. I'm trying to mix different accents so that I don't know where she's from.
It's like Ziwara
I think she's
Sekwa
Russian.
and Serbia in one.
I don't know. It's actually a very. I almost spoke about it last time, but I was like, let me not get into it because it was also sensationalized the way social media does. But basically, some Instagram baddie slay queen what was traveling with him and posting selfies from every place they went, from the private jet to the plane to the
And not even on a time
airport
delay.
to the-
Not even like on a time delay that normal people do.
Like, look where we just arrived now. And then the cops were like,
with the timestamp and everything.
but I think the reality of the matter is I don't think it would have made a difference. But maybe it did. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, while we're in the realm of tech and a somewhat similar story, there's this whole situation going on with Brazil and Elon Musk. So let me try and paint the overall story. Please bear with me. I didn't prepare this. This is based on information that I've put together, but I think I kind of know the story.
The full story is in the rundown, Dan.
Phil, I can't. I'm not going to read it live. I need to distill it properly, but I think I know the story. So, Brazil has a relatively new president. After, I think it was Bolsonaro. Was that the previous one?
Yeah.
Anyway, his name is Alexandre, and let's say he and Elon Musk are not too fond of each other in general, ideology-wise and stuff. Brazil has an extremely large Twitter presence. In fact, a lot of content on Twitter, and I was very surprised to find that out this week, originates in Brazil. Anyway, there's a very influential Supreme Court judge. The Supreme Court judge's name is Alexandra. Sorry, the Supreme Court judge ordered the immediate and complete suspension of X, aka Twitter, because of disinformation. And of course, Elon Musk took this personally. Hey, they're trying to censor us. What? But the way Brazil works is the way their law works is if you are going to operate in our country, you need to have a representative who is based here, who will answer for your company. So if Twitter or X is going to exist in Brazil, there needs to be Brazil bureau chief or Brazil general manager or whatever it is, who lives in Brazil, who can then be summoned by the government or who can answer questions or who can be taken to court or who can pay the fines or who can, provide clarity when it's needed, whatever. Otherwise, if you don't have that, then you won't be able to operate in Brazil. At least this is how I understood the situation to be. Anyway, so some things were brought to the attention of this apparently very trigger-happy Supreme Court in Brazil, a Supreme Court judge in Brazil, and he says, no, tell them to get out of here. Something similar had once happened before with WhatsApp, but apparently within minutes, the protests were so insane that they had to reverse that decision. And they were like, no, we was just playing, continue as you were. But yeah, anyway, so apparently X or Twitter is now banned in Brazil. And in fact, you can get fined up to $7,000 per day if you use things like VPNs to access X. I don't know how they'd catch you, but
spot check.
So until a legal representative from X enters into the country, the site will be banned. And the reasoning is there's so much disinformation. We need to speak to someone about it.
It's a little more detailed than that, because what also had happened is after the election. So when Bolsonaro got voted out, I'm forgetting what's his name. He was in prison and then he got released and then he became the president. I'm forgetting his name, but Bolsonaro was very similar to Trump he had a lot of Trumpian talking points. So
Da Silva.
Yes. So one of the things he did was he said that the election has been stolen, and a lot of quote unquote misinformation. Let me not say quote. It wasn't misinformation. Misinformation was being spread on social media, particularly Twitter, to this effect, to the point where people, much like America, stormed Brazil's parliament. As a response to this, Brazilian parliamentarians empowered the judge Alexandre de Moraes with, some might say, almost extrajudicial powers to deal with protecting Brazil from misinformation online. And one of the things that he does is he issues private orders to these platforms to take down information, provide information, etc. And these instructions are sealed. And one of the qualms that Elon has is, we're getting these sealed requests. We don't want to act on them. Plus, also, if we are not reinstated in Brazil or we're shut down, that's one of the last tweets that Elon had stated, was basically the fact that, we will now release these sealed requests that we were getting from this judge. So, yes, it's two. In overall, it should be two if he hasn't stepped outside the bounds of his remit to tackle misinformation, but it's a little more layered than that because we actually don't even know how he deems it, because everything literally starts and stops with him. So, and there's no accountability in that process, which is maybe fair and fine, but as we know with human beings, that may not always be the case. What is a little more concerning is Elon seems to think that America's version of free speech and transparency, or rather America's laws, somehow apply to Brazil, which is not in America. Or maybe does Elon think South America means Brazil is next to Georgia? I don't know. Maybe that's where the problem starts.
So my take on this whole thing is, whether I agree with Brazil's laws or not, whether I think they're fair or they're not, they're Brazil's laws. And if you want to operate in that country, you have to follow the laws of that country. So this whole thing that Elon is doing is it's like, yo, those are the laws in Brazil. Whether they're fair or not is a whole other conversation. I couldn't even begin to have that conversation because I don't know any of the nuanced history of what the situation is in Brazil, what the political views are, what the social situation is. I don't know nothing. I don't know why certain laws exist or why certain policies have been taken up. It would take years to understand many of those things. So I can't pretend to know them, nor could I know them just from reading a couple of articles on the internet. There's so much context and nuance that is involved with this kind of thing. But what I do know is if you want to operate in Brazil, you kind of have to follow the law. It's the same. Zimbabwe probably has some very draconian laws regarding press, media, etc., etc. You can't just go, you have to make that decision. Am I going to operate there or not? People understand that for China. Everyone knows that everything in China goes through the CCP. Everyone knows if you want to operate in China, they want access. Otherwise, you will not operate in China. But also everyone knows there's 1 billion people, many of which have disposable income. So they follow the law. They go in there and say, yes, where do you need us to sign?
Which is famously why Google left China many years ago.
And they're back. Why Apple is criticized? Because they're like, Apple claims, hey, security, but for China, you allow them to have access to certain things. So, I don't know. I would love to, I honestly will not, but I would love to know some of the nuances and context behind why some of these laws exist in Brazil and so on. But I also think, by the way, that it's inevitable that in the long run, you can't ban media from a place. Because you can sit and say we're gonna fine you $9,000 per day if you use a VPN to access Twitter. So what's gonna happen when 20 million, 30 million, half the population is doing that? You're gonna fine the whole population?
No. So that now becomes the sword. So I have this law in place. I know people are going to use it. It's exactly the same law. In fact, we discussed it in the Patreon group earlier this week. Maybe it should be a talking point, but it's the same law where earlier this week, ZRP and the National Prosecution Authority released a statement about two young men went to the police station because they were involved in a lover's tiff. Essentially, what had happened is they were dating. They moved in together, and when they broke up, they had a disagreement about who owned what. And someone took something, and then they were like, nope, you stole my furniture. They went to the police. Somehow, while they were relaying the story, these two young men forgot that in Zimbabwe, the act of sodomy is punishable. It's a punishable crime. It's illegal. And they basically admitted to having sex. And the police were like, hold up there, buddy.
Forget that other thing.
You guys just... So I think I can only imagine how crazy that conversation must have been. Like, I can't believe you did this after all I did to you last night. Oh, so what I did in Zuru? Well, you know what? I laid it down on him. Oh, okay.
But why are they talking like that for?
Damn, this is a podcast. I'm trying to, I'm got energy. And then bam. So, but my whole point is,
you see, if I was a messy something, this would be the clip that goes on to TikTok. But no, it will not.
But my whole point being is like that, and some other examples is that law cannot be enforced globally. It simply cannot. However, if, for example, the government or the powers that be or whatever need a reason to lock you up, right? And they need a reason to arrest you, this provides them an easy layup. Like, oh, you know what? This person's becoming a rabble rouser online, blah, 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 blah. We can't arrest them for being a rabble rouser, speaking their mind. However, they are on Twitter. How are they on Twitter when we know that they are in Rio de Janeiro right now? So they must be using a VPN. That gives us probable cause to arrest them and enforce it. So I think maybe...
I do get that argument, Phil. But realistically, if any authority really wants to, at the very least, detain you, you can always find something wrong, some law, some
Indeed, but you want to make it
regulation
easier, right?
that you've fallen foul of.
Because once again, it's all about creating the illusion of some form of transparency, law and order, blah 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 blah.
Do you remember the peak? Do you remember the peak of police roadblocks in Zim, Phil?
Yeah,
Where no matter what, you could have had your triangle, your fire extinguisher, that little reflective vest sitting on, and it didn't just have
not
to
only
be in the
that,
car. It had
your
to be on
front
the
bumper had
driver's
to have the red ones, the red reflectors.
you had
Your
to have
front,
those
your back
reflectors
bumper,
on the front, and they had to be the right shade and the right size, and you had to have the ones on the back. You need to make sure that you had a jack, you had a spare tire, and it can't be the biscuit tire for some reason. No matter what, if you get stopped, there's something that you can get a fine for. I don't care if you are driving the latest GLE brand new, which has everything on it. There's something you will get a fine for. It's one of those situations that, unfortunately, if an authority wants to detain you or arrest you, the way I think legal systems are so complicated right now, there's always something they can catch you on,
fair enough.
which is unfortunate.
But yeah, I think point being is I'm not sure what Elon is trying to get at here, considering the fact that Brazil is his third largest market, and just last week we were talking about how they're losing revenue, and now you're wiping out your third largest user base. And this is the point I was going to get to, which actually ties into Zim. So what they then did is, because Elon was refusing to enforce this, right? So they're like, I bet. We know you own Starlink. We're shutting down Starlink, and until you comply.
I don't think it was even that. Wasn't it? We're charging you a fine of this much, and he was like, and they were like, no, it's cool. You got Starlink property here. We'll go claim it from there.
Yeah. And then he was like, wait, what? You can do that? They were like, this is Brazil, bro. We don't live by your rules. And now, because of that, Elon had to comply and shut down delivering a service to, or rather blocking Brazilian IP addresses. And this gave me a little bit of, I wouldn't say deja vu, but a little bit of pause, because I was like, wait a minute. We have Twitter in Zimbabwe, and we're about to get Starlink officially. I would pause on that Starlink subscription, because what's to stop? Because these guys are watching. Like, what's to stop them one day and saying, you know what, actually, send us the details of all these people tweeting this, and this. And he's like, no, free speech. And they're like, I bet, Zima, we're shutting down Starlink.
Philip, okay. Public service announcement. If you are using or are going to use Starlink in Zimbabwe, $7 a month for a VPN service. I believe ExpressVPN. This is not a paid advert. Holla at us, Express.
I've actually stopped
Tunnel Bear.
I've used Nord.
Tunnel Bear
Nord is
showed
very good.
some love to Zimbabwe.
Nord is very good.
I still have, when Zimbabwe's internet shut down, Tunnel Bear offered 10 gigabytes free traffic for Zimbabweans. I was like, I bet. And I used it. I think they forgot to switch it off. Because to this day, if I open my Tunnel Bear, and it stacks, by the way, it stacks monthly. I have, 200, 300 gig on my Tunnel Bear account. Under normal circumstances, you're supposed to get, I think, like 500 megabytes free or something like that. And then you have to pay. So I don't know why I pay for ExpressVPN. That's actually ridiculous.
Actually, yeah, I stopped using ExpressVPN because it's a bit pricey, because I use Nord. Nord gives me similar service, but actually it's a bit faster. I get tracking blockers, and it's like $3 a month. Express is at 12, right? Even if you do the annual, I think it's down to 8. So yeah,
I think it's 9, something like 9.
I remember, I got like 2 years, and they gave me like a year free, so I got like 3 years of Nord VPN for like $60 or something.
I'm now so curious.
And Nord works better with Netflix. ExpressVPN never used to work properly with Netflix. It was really, really slow. Nord, even on the TV, works perfectly.
You know what? Let me see if I'll play around with NordVPN. It's just I don't. If something does a little bit of advertising in select places, it makes me trust it. But when something sprays advertising, it makes me like, why are you shouting so loudly? And Nord was like in every dingy corner of the internet. Get NordVPN. Get NordVPN. Are you downloading something illegal right now? Get NordVPN. I'm like, wait, don't advertise here. You're supposed to be legit. Not that I was there. I was looking over someone's shoulder.
Of course.
Let's move on from technological discussions, Phil, to we could call this a hard pivot. Let's talk about, Phil, a lot of people tune into this podcast because they know that you're someone who has not only studied, but has worked actively in the music business. And you have experience with things like IP, with things like
IP addresses,
masters, publishing, distribution, labels, music ownership, royalties. You understand this from an academic and a practical perspective, Phil. So I have no doubt that there's many people who heard this whole story that's trending right now on South African and by extension, North South African Twitter about DJ Maphorisa, Samthing Soweto, mass music.
Yeah. The North South Africa. Yeah.
Please, Philip, what is this story with DJ Maphorisa? Why did he go on, I don't know, however long rant on his Instagram live that I can't understand because, damn it, South Africa, give us captions or subtitles or something.
Dan, where are you planning to move to?
When I go there, I'm going to be hanging out at the wine farms. I just need to learn Afrikaans. Side note, before you get into the story, today I went into the bank. I need to do some urgent banking, and I went in. Banks normally close at 3:30, right? I went in at like 3:15.
No,
sweating.
banks
Cool, I
normally
need to do
close
some
at
work.
3.
And they were like, our system is down.
No, banks close at 3. If you go to First Capital Prestige, they'll take you up to 4, but you have to have a Prestige account.
I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to, because there's other things happening beside. But as I was, and then they were like, the system is down, but if you wait, I'm sure they can try and fix it. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll sit down and wait. Next to me was this elderly white woman who was having trouble paying for something. She was shouting in the bank, shouting at the teller.
How can you be a bank and you guys say that you're a professional organization, then you say the system is down, da 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 da.
That she's going on. The funny part to me is everyone was like, normal Karen behavior. It wasn't out of place. It was like normal. I was sitting down. I was on my phone. Then my battery finished on my phone. So I was just sitting there. Then I made a fatal error.
What did you do then?
This white lady said something along the lines of something about the time, da da da. So I was thinking, should I wait? Is the network going to come up soon, or the system going to come up soon, or is this? So she said something that made me think it had been offline all day.
Oh
so
my
I
God!
addressed
Dan.
her
Sorry,
mistakenly.
Sorry, Dan.
And I said, sorry, how long have you been here waiting? And the moment it left my mouth, I knew that I had made a fatal error.
You never engaged them in the world.
I didn't want to. I don't know, maybe because I was tired. The normal receptors were not working. She looked at me and she's like, right, I found my target. She started telling me her whole life story. Turns out her and her husband were throwing an event this weekend for several hundred people. So they had gone to several wholesale places to purchase some stuff they needed for this event. But they knew that it would be cheaper to buy in Zig. So they had transferred I even know how much money. They had transferred $1,000 into their accounts for Zig.
$1,000 from $1,000 from their USD, like.
No, as in they had bought Zig for $1,000 worth.
So shit is at the bank.
I didn't get any words in. All I said was, oh, sorry, wait. Have you? How long? I said, oh, sorry. Since what time have you been waiting for the system
So
to be up?
so she's throwing a tantrum yet admitting to a crime.
I guess. I don't know.
Oh, does she not know?
Anyway,
the
so-
SIU the SIU are very, very efficient these days. The moment you-
financial intelligence, FIU.
Sorry.
So-
the moment
so
you say buy USD, sorry, I'm just whispering. Like literally, they just pop up. Like just boom. Eh, sakamadichi. Rotengachi.
So yeah, so then she transferred her money to Zig. But then she tried to pay with Zig, and then she found out that her card was blocked. So then she went to the bank, and they were like, "Yeah, your card has expired. You need to get a new card." So then she's been sitting here waiting to apply for a new card. Meanwhile, the money is losing value by the hour. Anyway, this happened an hour and 10 minutes ago. The system has been down. What? I was like, so. And then I didn't want to ask a follow-up question because I knew now it's going to lead to... And you know, the thing is, I'm actually mad at myself because I was looking at her nodding sympathetically, hoping this story would finish. That's not how I should have reacted. You know, when you look back at an interaction, you're like, you know what? Nah, I shouldn't have been nice and understanding.
You don't have it in you.
I should have been... Are you not embarrassed shouting and making a scene in front of all these people?
You don't
Everyone
have
here is
it in
trying
you.
to do their best.
You don't have it in you, Dan.
That's what I should have said.
You don't.
I
have it
regret.
in
I should have said, "Are you not embarrassed shouting and making a scene? Everyone in here is doing their best. The network or system is down. It doesn't matter how much you shout at them. The system is not going to come up. So just relax." That's what I should have said, man. Ah, damn it.
you.
Anyway,
Sorry.
back to the
Dan,
story.
We've got
What
another
is it about?
distraction.
Walked in, 30,000 in my pocket, had them niggas just like, $50,000 on you, bitch, wanna fuck me, gotta screaming like, I got a check, nigga wanna
Damn, we just got breaking news as we record this. It seems Rich Homie Kwan has passed away.
What?
Yeah.
You for real?
I'm damn. Why would I joke about this?
Whoa. What? Okay, I'm doing a quick Google over here. Anyway, Phil, before we get into that, you were about to tell us this DJ Maphorisa story.
I don't know. Like, that's the problem when you're trying to figure out like how much can you say without destroying relationships. Anyway, on Tuesday.
Let's talk about what we know. We don't have to go behind the
on
scenes.
Tuesday.
Let's talk about what
On
we
Tuesday, Mass Music posted the link saying Amalange Wafani, which is a song and a derivative of there's a version of it on Kabza's album, but this is a newer version with Mass Music, DJ Maphorisa, Kabza had been released, but there wasn't any credit given to Samthing Soweto. Samthing, and the artwork didn't have him either. Samthing Soweto then commented on the tweet with a broken heart emoji. People listen to the song and like, wait a minute, we hear Samthing Soweto's vocals on the song, but we don't see him credited. What's going on here, guys? People then started pushing or arguing for change. It was actually quite a cool, like little political movement just to make sure that Samthing got his just deserves. As expected, DJ Maphorisa, well, Mass Music didn't say anything about the song, but DJ Maphorisa did because he's also credited as one of the featured acts on the song. And in his rant and tirade, he basically said, yo, Samthing, and also in tweets, he basically said, like, yo, Samthing is confusing me because he said he didn't want the masters, he didn't want credit. We couldn't agree on the credit. And as a result, I then didn't release it on my label. I released it, I told Mass Music to release it on his label. And he then went on to a whole diatribe saying, like, yo, I've saved the culture of South African music. I've saved Ikom. I saved Afrobeat. I also saved house. And now I'm saving piano. You guys should thank me. Don't make me be the bad guy by constantly ridiculing me, so on and so forth.
Okay, wait. So before we get there, sorry, just so I understand. There was a song that was Mass Music, Samthing Soweto, and DJ Maphorisa.
Amongst others, yes.
And several others.
Yeah.
Then Samthing Soweto did what?
Samthing Soweto provided vocals. So he does a whole verse on the song and he does the chorus. He's not credited on the song. So according to,
But he's actually on the song.
he's on the song, which is
Yeah. Okay.
even like with the discussion we're having in the group. That's what I was like, what Maphorisa is saying is not making sense here, because if you didn't want him on the song, or you guys can come to an agreement, just remove his vocals from the song, and then you guys can have an argument with regards to the composition in the back end. But
So Maphorisa is saying this.
no, I'm saying this. What Maphorisa was saying is we could not, basically in short, and I'm surmising here, we could not come to an agreement with Samthing with regards to what share of the master he would get. Because we could not come to an agreement, we are releasing without him being assigned any shares to the song. And Maphorisa was now playing victim. Like, I don't understand what the problem here is, which at best is bad business, and at worst is incredibly shady. Because there's no way you can release a song with someone performing on that song without A, their consent, like at the very least their consent, and B, by now he should know an agreement on the splits, because these are performance splits, not compositional splits, which are two different things. So
Okay, so before getting into sorry, Phil, I know you're getting into the technicalities, and we may get into it. I just really want to understand. So, at DJ Maphorisa's studio, Mass Music, Samthing Soweto, and others recorded this new song.
well,
Then
we
Mass
do-
Music
we-
posted
which,
on his.
which is another thing we need to discuss, because we don't know that. We don't.
So
I-
Maphorisa claims is
Yeah, but I that's the other thing we also need to be careful of, is there's many ways this can happen. Like vocals can be sent, or the song can begin to get created and then finish at a later time. There's a lot of different iterations. Because a lot of people were coming out of the book and saying, why do people keep going to Maphorisa's house? And there's a lot of reasons people go to Maphorisa's house. You might just go to Maphorisa's house because Maphorisa's house is the studio, and the producer you're working with is operating from his house.
I'll say it because I don't have any relationship with him or anyone around him, but it's well known that Maphorisa is like he's like the godfather of Amapiano. You almost have to pay tribute, allegiance for your song to get any kind of recognition. Now, my issue here is I'm trying to understand. Before we get into the technicalities of the master, the what. Now, Philip, what are you doing?
Sorry, I was trying to open the song in a different browser, which I'm not signed into, and this just ads galore. My apologies. Continue that.
Yes. So I'm saying, okay, so this song is supposed to have Samthing Soweto on it because he recorded vocals. Somehow, whether it was at the studio or he sent them in or whatever the case is.
Recorded and
Mass Music
composed.
is the one who posted it and released it.
Yeah.
And then Samthing Soweto posts a broken heart emoji, implying that, damn, you guys left me off of my own, like a song that I contributed.
Yeah.
And then people started bullying Mass Music. And then Maphorisa comes out and says, no, don't talk to Mass. Mass didn't do anything. This is me. Right? At least that's how I understand the story so far. I don't fully know it.
Yeah.
And then Maphorisa comes out and says, no, Mass has nothing to do with this. I'm the one who took Samthing Soweto off.
No, but you didn't take him
The
off.
reason for that is because, or rather crediting, before we talk about anything else, just in terms of crediting. I'm the one who took off Samthing Soweto's credit because he didn't do enough on this song to warrant a credit. I believe that's what he said, something along those lines.
Okay, now I can say that. I hope he didn't say that. I don't remember seeing that. I hope he didn't say that, because that would be something. That would be incredibly. That's a wild thing to say.
Okay, let me. I'm gonna read. This is from News 24. Popular DJ and producer. Maphorisa accused Samthing Soweto of not contributing enough to the song and of bullying Mass Music in the process. He said in his live stream, "It was recorded in my house. He owns the whole master. If you want to cancel a person, you can cancel me, and I'll bounce back. I'm strong. I believe in myself. But Mass Music didn't do anything in this situation. He tried his level best to drop this song, and the young man has been frustrated because Samthing Soweto doesn't know how to handle his business. Then he goes on to say, Maphorisa criticized both Samthing Soweto and Amapiano star Sir Trill, stating that they are problematic when managing the business side of the music industry.
Okay. Let's load up the song. This is the song in question. You tell me what you think about contributions. Let me skip ahead a bit.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, the song is no longer available on DSPs. They took it down within a day.
Good.
Let's skip ahead to this part. This is Maphorisa's part. Here we go. Distinctive voice. A distinctive voice. So I counted at least 12 bars there. Guess that's not a lot.
So, for the record, what I read there was not a direct quote, but News 24 says DJ Maphorisa accused Samthing Soweto of not contributing enough to the song.
It doesn't matter, dude. Whether it's
Like I
bar
watched
or
part
12.
of that live stream.
whether it's one
Just
bar
out
or
of
12
out of
bars.
out of interest, I saw him spitting into the screen and people writing comments, "Yo, stop spitting at us." And then I couldn't understand what he was saying because obviously he was speaking in
In what?
he's-
Speaking in
he's
what?
Very, very, very strong. Look, I don't even know what language he was speaking.
Oh, yes. That word of advice. Maybe do some Duolingo. Maybe brush up on your language
Never.
lessons before you
Never.
look at you becoming a
I
problem.
refuse.
Look
After
at,
what they did to my girl Chidima,
look at you becoming a problematic immigrant. Look at you becoming a problem. We didn't even discuss Chidima's Guan, but anyway, that's a story for another day. But so,
Yeah.
long story short, Maphorisa's full of shit. Like, I don't know how to break it down. Like, in every possible way, this story does not make sense. If you cannot agree with the artist on the splits, and you say you own 100% of the masters, how do you get to own 100% of the master? Like, that's the part that's boggling my mind. Even with Commonwealth law, if you pay for the composition, you own the composition, but there's no provision for owning the master, which is the reproduction of it. So unless Samthing agreed to that, you don't own the master. Also, owning the master does not give you the right to not credit an artist unless an agreement is in place for that, i.e. ghostwriting. But once again, there's no discussion of that. Secondly, if you now own the master and you admit you own the master and you admit you then instructed Mass to release it on his label, what does that mean? That means that you knew you were circumventing or trying to circumvent an issue you had not addressed and put the load on Mass. So now Mass has to deal with the fallout. And then you step in and you're not cussing on everyone. Like all of this makes zero sense. Like, it's insane. And now a pattern is emerging. A pattern is emerging, like, of artists continually stating the same thing about you, Maphorisa. And now you're admitting it by yourself that you are not handling business the way you should be handling it. You've been in this industry for 15 years now. Why are you still moving this way?
let me tell you, translated, some more things that Maphorisa said. I'm not a gatekeeper. I've been saying, sorry, let me say it how he would have said it. I'm not a gatekeeper. This is going to have to be cleaned. I'm not a gatekeeper. I've been saving this game. How can I be a gatekeeper when I've opened doors for people like Mac G and Sol Penduka? What is gatekeeping? I put Kabza on, and today he's a multimillionaire. I saved Nigeria's music scene. Today you know Mellow and Sleazy because of me. You know Tyler because of me.
This is a wild. That's the that's some wild.
This is from News Live.
There's some wild things to say.
My thing is, obviously, again, even if I don't know all the intricate movements of South African piano and who did what and who, even if I don't know that, the moment you come out and start taking all the credit, makes me look at you sideways. Guys, piano is firing. Maphorisa did his thing on so many songs. But the moment you think that piano is you, look. Did Maphorisa need Kabza or did Kabza need Maphorisa?
I think there's a bit of symbiosis because Kabza had been producing for quite some time, but he didn't really have a massive break until Scorpion Kings. Granted, I think he was gonna break through eventually. I remember him from Shove. Shove was my jam. And that was probably like one of the first introductions I had to commercial on my piano. So I think it worked well because Maphorisa did have the brand, he did have the name, he had the reputation, etc, etc. But also, to claim all this is a bit wild. Because now the question also is, what are you adding to these songs? Like, are you an integral part of the production and the composition? Or are you just bullying your way onto these songs? Yes, so as the studio owner and people recording at your home, etc, using your equipment, yes, you need to be compensated for that in some form or fashion. But
even adding your name, obviously, there's a certain level of brand value to your name. So you have to compensate it for that. But what I wanted to say, Phil, is if an incredible talent who is unknown creates an amazing piece of music, then a well-known person who has the links and who has the clout in the industry to make sure your song is seen, makes sure your song is seen and heard. And because of that, you blow up. I don't believe it's a 50-50 split in terms of credit. I think the talent did most of the heavy lifting. I might even say 80-20. Yes, that 80% would not have gone, would not have blown, would not have been seen without the clout that you have as the established name in the game. And there's so many examples of this. It could be when Usher put on Justin Bieber. It could be when, why am I struggling to think of examples? There's probably so many examples of someone who's incredibly talented. When basically Kanye West and Jay-Z, well, I don't know if this is actually accurate, but Kanye West and Jay-Z contributed to the blow up of Frank Ocean.
no, you had a better example if you said Jay-Z had a contribution to Kanye's blow up.
Exactly. So let's say Jay-Z. So the thing is, to a certain extent, Kanye contributed to his own blow up because he was producing number one hit singles.
But he wasn't an artist.
Rappers.
If it wasn't for Dame Dash taking that lead, and then by extension, Jay-Z, granted, Dame Dash is the one that took the lead. But if Kanye didn't have the vocal credits or the features from Jay in the beginning of his career and that cosign, he would not have. I don't think he would have been as widely recognized.
He might have, but it might have taken longer, or it might not have been as successful.
Because keep in mind, Kanye had been producing for over a decade at that point, so he had been struggling to break through as a performer.
But even before Dame Dash and Jay-Z, I mean, he had produced for the names are now skipping.
No, I'm talking about Kanye the performer, not Kanye the producer. Kanye the producer had started to build a reputation. Granted, blueprint.
But you get my point. My point, Phil, is if you are completely unknown with zero clout, and someone with a lot of clout takes your talent and puts you in front of everyone, and you blow up, how much credit does that person get? The Kanye example is a little difficult because Kanye had built a little bit of clout as a producer. He just was unknown as a performer.
But even that,
I'm trying to think of an example of someone who's got.
Let's just deal with that.
Let's
just deal with the hypothetical because there's so many examples. I get what you're saying, but also what you're describing is part of the role of a record label. So one of the reasons why record labels take what they do, the percentages that they do, is because of that very argument. It's like, listen, we are giving you access to our channels, our networks, our amplification platforms, and we're going to take you from an unknown talent to a well-known talent, and we're entitled to remuneration for that. Now,
here's where I have a problem. I have a problem with that narrative because it is true, but it is also an angle. Because the flip side is you are just admin. The actual product, the actual creative that is being consumed and is valuable is that known or unknown. It's that artist.
No.
What you are is wait, hold. I'm of course I'm giving the flip extreme example because I feel like because you have the clout and the money and the influence, you can push that narrative that without me you're nothing, and that's true. It's very true because I can sit and post up my songs to SoundCloud all day, and I could be the most talented person in the world. I mean, the story of Frank. By the way, side note. I keep forgetting. I meant to mention in the last podcast. We'll continue the discussion in a second. Plug. For you nerds that I put onto that other podcast, Acquired, if you love it, you will absolutely love the new podcast I'm on right now, which is called Dissect. Dissect is this white guy. His name's Cole Kushner.
The Canadian.
He sits down and he does an in-depth dive of albums. I've listened to 2. Where he did, I think it's like he did 12 hours discussing discussing Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly, and it blew my mind. Like there's so much, I don't know how to explain it. It's like there's stuff that you know, and then there's like deeper, like everything from the musical arrangement to the choice of keys, to the choice of instrumentals, to the choice of samples, to the layout of tracks, to track 1 relating to track 3, relating to track. Just the in-depth and that. Literally, he spent 12 hours breaking down To Pimp a Butterfly in, I don't know how many episodes. Maybe it was like 16 episodes or something. He went track by track. Before he even went into Pimp a Butterfly, he did we're going to spend a couple of episodes doing an overview of Good Kid, Mad City, because that's what's going to give us and the thing is, he's a white dude. And I thought, you don't get the context. And the thing is, he's so open about, I know I don't understand some of this stuff, some of this nuance. I'm going to try my best to learn it. And then he speaks purely from a technical perspective and references to, it's mind-blowing. It's called Dissect, Dissect, hosted by Cole Kushner. I'm now listening to Frank Ocean's episode. He's dissecting Channel Orange and Blonde. Mind blown. I cannot recommend this podcast. If you're a nerd and you want to dissect music, and it's different to like breaking down Easter eggs and stuff like, it's not that. It's literally, imagine a white guy who is not problematic and doesn't fully understand hip hop like that, but he's like, I'm going to learn to understand it. Open mind, I'm coming. It's just brilliant. Dissect. Anyway, so what was I just talking about? Yes, I was talking about, okay, so let's use the example. I want to use the example of Frank Ocean. Frank Ocean signed to Def Jam. He had been putting out, he was a songwriter, and he was doing incredible stuff. And he got signed.
But didn't Channel Orange come out before Channel Orange? What got him signed, isn't it? Then
long before Channel Orange. I'm talking Nostalgia Ultra.
Oh yeah, sorry, Nostalgia Ultra. Yeah.
Yes. So he had already been signed when Nostalgia Ultra came out. He just put it out by Guinea. It was a similar to a Kanye move. He literally he was a writer. He had put out a couple of demo tracks and stuff, but he hadn't put anything official out. So because of the hype that he was building, and he had just linked himself up with the Odd Future group and Tyler the Creator and whatever, right? But he hadn't put out any official bodies of work. Then he got signed to Def Jam, and the label was like, "You got so much talent, man, but we got other priorities right now." And he was shelved year after year after year, and he was like, "Screw it, I'm gonna force their hand." He put out Nostalgia Ultra, which was a mixtape, independently on his own. It was like critically acclaimed. People loved it. It's the one that had Novocaine, which is one of my favorite songs from Frank Ocean and in general overall, and just hearing the story behind it and the references. Man, shout out to Dissect. Do you know what? If I can become a patron member, I'm going to do that of Dissect.
Yo, get off that dude's nuts, bro. Jeez Louise.
It was dope. Anyway, so here's Frank Ocean. You know that I'm an incredible talent, but I can't do anything unless you put me on. Or can I? So he put out this mixtape. and he forced their hand. Because they now realize that there's a buzz about him. If we don't do something, we lose out on this opportunity. So then and he famously said, give me $1 million, I'll do it. Well, this was after Channel Orange. So I'm trying to me, this is the crux of the discussion. The talent versus the marketing. Both are super important and are needed for any kind of success. And it's not just the marketing. Marketing is even the wrong word. Let me say the industry or the machine, because you need the producers and the sound engineers and the strategists and the managers and the tour bus guys and the tour people and the marketers, and you need that whole machine for your raw talent to be successful. Mm-hmm. So how much if putting DJ Maphorisa on a song makes it successful, but he contributed little to nothing in terms of the creative of that song, how much credit should he get? In my opinion, he must get some credit, of course. But I strongly believe, as much as it's a necessary amount, I don't believe it's 50-50. Definitely don't believe it's more than 50.
The reason why I kept saying no is the way you're approaching this, the premise of your argument is incorrect. Because that's not how it's negotiated, that's how it's discussed. What someone is entitled to, simply put, is what you guys agree on. Right. So if Dan comes to me and is like, Phil, I need 80%. If I don't agree, and I'm like, you know what, Dan, actually, let's go 60-40, and we shake on it, you and I might be happy with that agreement. A third party might look at it and say, what? You gave Dan 60% when all he did was give you the studio? That's crazy. But if I'm happy with that and we agreed and that agreement was agreed without any duress or anything, then that it is what it is. So that's...
No, but Phil, that's not fair. That's not fair, because the power dynamic doesn't matter. If I am fully informed, fine.
If you are fully informed, Dan, if we are fully informed, you are then going to use that information to leverage to a percentage that you feel is agreeable, or we're not going to come to an agreement. And that's my point. If we come to an agreement, all things being equal, what we agree on is what we agree on. So
of course, but
so
we came to that agreement.
We can't then have a rigid table to say let's just simply because we're not going to get stuck in the weeds here. And this is not going to be a pleasurable listening experience. Ultimately, in a negotiation, what you negotiate, all things being equal, what two parties or multiple parties agree on, is fair and fine. All things being equal.
No, it's but you the premise of your argument is flawed, because the two parties in this agreement, one is a powerful, wealthy...
Dan, I said all things being equal.
But they're never equal.
But that's my point, Dan. So this is my point. We're not going to spend hours discussing the multiple variables and minutiae.
No, there's no multiple variables. Okay, Phil, this is the case for every artist. When you're new, naive, you don't know anything, all you have is talent, you're going to get taken advantage of. It's not equal. It's not fair. It's not right. But if you knew and had the information and had enough of clout on your end, or enough of course, negotiation is all about leverage, right? But if you at least knew that, listen, first of all, you're not the only label on the table.
But okay, Dan,
second of all,
I've got to ask, this argument that you're raising, how does it relate to this discussion? Because these points, Samthing is not new. Samthing is not naive. Samthing is not desperate. So like this, it's not related. That's what I'm saying.
Let me make it relate then. Okay. So my question is, ultimately, the person who made your track a hit or who made your song a hit, how much credit should they get? And then that leads to the follow-up question, which is, after you have a hit, how much do you owe to that person who put you on? Is your whole career... I mean, we know that you wouldn't have had a career if it wasn't for them. Hopefully you show some kind of appreciation. But are they in charge of your whole career? Do they control you? Because if it wasn't for them, you would have been a nobody. Or, and that's the situation that I see Samthing Soweto is in over here. Fine, he's not a new artist. But he was essentially, he was put on by Maphorisa, as were almost all these Amapiano acts. They were almost all put on by Maphorisa. Because he already had a name for himself through Gom, and he has even built an even bigger name for himself through Amapiano. And he's obviously been very shrewd about how he's done it. But does that mean he should take the credit? And not only take the credit, does that mean everyone owes him? And my argument here is he must get some credit. But I don't believe it's 50% of the credit. I don't even believe it's 40 or 30%, maybe 20 we could discuss. And it's very difficult to measure that because it's very difficult to subjectively know, or rather to objectively know, how much influence just my name and my expertise and my knowledge and my cosign, how much that has affected you. It's very difficult to measure the amount. But I would argue that as important and crucial as that is, what's more important is the creative piece or the creative work that was put there. Because no one else can make that creative work. But several other people could have put me on. No one else can be a Samthing Soweto. He's got his own style. Even when you played even when you played that song, we could immediately identify his voice, his style, his cadence. His music is his unique work that he's put together. No one else can be a Samthing Soweto. But if DJ Maphorisa doesn't put you on, someone else could.
But I think we need to reframe this argument because even your premise is wrong. Maphorisa did not put Samthing on. Samthing was already popping from the soil. Samthing, remember, he was in the soil, then he left.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And his big hit after that was with Sanel.
Tigi, Tigi. That was the soil, was it?
Mm.
Am I mixing up people now?
So this is anyway. I'm failing to understand where you're coming from. I can see what you're trying to do, but I don't think it applies.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why it doesn't apply is what I'm trying to say is there's so much intricacy, there's so much thing. And one of the things that you learn, especially in school and after in practical application, is they are what they call suggested or mandatory percentages, right? If someone composes a top line, this is what they get. If they do the melody, this is what they get. If they do a verse, but those are just guides, right? Now, with Amapiano, for example, where you might have 3 producers, in this case, you might have up to 3 producers, you might have 4 or 5 vocalists. It's not a standard hook, bar, verse, a verse, hook, bridge type situation. It might be all convoluted. It's very difficult to discuss, just splits in general. But now, particularly with this, the reason why I was trying to break it down to that simple form simply states is, if Samthing knows his worth, he knows his percentage, he knows his price, whatever it may be, and he comes in and says, yo, I expect X, and you guys can't come to the agreement, there's 2 things you should do. Since Maphorisa wants to take front and send this, solution 1 is acquiesce. Solution 2 is, you know what, Sam, listen, we couldn't come to an agreement. Well, there's actually 3 things. We couldn't come to an agreement, listen. Based on the composition, we actually realized that you did not compose the bed, like the foundation of the song, the beat, the hook, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to leave you off the song. Many a song that's happened. I've got multiple versions of songs with people that ended up getting left off for that very reason. They couldn't come to an agreement. The other option, which is also very feasible, is the song never gets released. I've got hobo songs that have never been released. Even my songs from other artists, because of this very situation. So for Maphorisa to imply that, yo, we couldn't come to an agreement with you, so you forced it and now we're releasing it, but we're releasing it in such a way that doesn't give you credit and without your consent, is nonsensical and illegal.
And yet you're still on it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's illegal. Yeah. So this is why I'm now saying the argument you're raising is valid, but it doesn't really apply here because that's a discussion to be had, I think, at another time, and it has its own intricacies, which is why I was saying, like, if we start, that discussion would literally just be an episode on its own, and maybe we can make it a Patreon exclusive or something. But that literally,
so
a discussion.
For the record, that I wasn't specifically referring to the song. I was referring to what Maphorisa was saying on his social
and
media.
that's what I'm saying. That discussion alone is a full episode because, for example, and you raised a perfect. There's actually an example of this. Vula Vala. That song had been out for a year. Vigro Deep dropped it on his own EP. didn't really get much traction. Literally, Scorpion Kings, Kabza, and Maphorisa heard it, were like, bring that item with the vocals. All they added were their names. All of a sudden, smash it. So, there's probably a more apt example. How much was it worth to Vigro Deep to have a song with him? Let me just make sure I confirm who the vocalist was. Nokwazi, yeah. Song between him and Nokwazi. Him doing the production, Nokwazi doing the vocals. 50-50 split, whatever, right? Now they've got to add Scorpion Kings. Scorpion Kings comes to them like, listen, guy, we can take the song far. And they actually do take the song far. And all they did was just added their names. That song is completely unchanged from the version on his album. So
That's so wild. But if you're
but there's a perfect example. That example speaks exactly what you're saying to. So now, if Vigro Deep says, you know what, guys, take it all. I don't care. I just want my name next to yours. If Vigro Deep agreed to that, and no gun was put to his head,
and he was fully informed,
yes, Vigro Deep grew up in this. His dad was a DJ.
then I am all on board because I can understand the idea. I can understand accepting exposure as payment. And Lord knows, I've been done that. I remember calling people and saying, listen, I'm trying to get my name out there. I want to MC your event. I'll do it for free. I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
I've hit up people and saying, listen, I'm trying to build my reputation as a digital marketer. I want to do a campaign for you. I'll do it for free. I've done that because I know there's value in putting yourself there and getting your name out there. But I did that informed. If someone took advantage of me without me being informed, I feel like it's a different conversation. Also, if I really think about it, if both people are benefiting and everyone knows where they're benefiting, then it's all fair. All fair. As long as we agreed, it's all good. My only argument is many times these agreements are made with people who are not informed and don't know what they're agreeing to, and that's just not fair. The agreement could be exactly the same. The only difference is he knows exactly what's going on. Then 100%. Go for it.
So in this instance,
Give him 90% of the song.
and in this instance, Samthing knew what was going on. So I don't think, based on all the information presented to us, because we obviously don't know the inner workings, but Samthing knew something. But Maphorisa's case is a mess. Whatever he's arguing for or whatever fault he's trying to find, it makes no sense. Because you don't release a song without crediting the artist. You don't try and use subterfuge by admitting that you own the masters, yet somehow it's been released via Mass Music's label. What purpose does that serve other than plausible deniability on your part if it hit the fan? And it hit the fan very quickly. Like within 15 minutes, it hit the fan. And that's the issue here. So
Music is a dirty game, man.
music is a dirty game, but so is everything else. Everything.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's true.
capitalism just brings out some of the worst. Like we've got examples of people stealing my IP, stealing my ideas, stealing my concepts. I've got multiple presentations that have been presented and then executed by someone else. And it's disheartening because now you're like, okay, so how much detail do I put in the presentation? Because I want to look prepared, but I don't want to give them the source. But also the values in the execution. But also when the execution is no longer valued as it should be, what's the point of like putting a value on the execution side if they don't see the value point? So it's and that's the same with all this, because a hit is only a hit when people know it. There have been many hits or dope songs that we've all listened to that have died on the vine or topped out at a few thousand listens because they did not have the resources behind them. So there is a great amount of value in being in gaining access to exposure tools, to getting platforms, tools, people, labels, whatever you want to use that can help take your music further. Tyler would not be where she is today without that exposure, without those tools. And yes, you bring half to it, which is the brand, the person plus the talent, and the label does the rest of the work. But also someone's got to put up that money. Someone's got to use that network. Someone's got to figure out how to front all these expenses. And if you can't do it, then it's only right that you hand over to someone who can. So all that to say, I get what argument you're trying to make. I think we should save it for a separate discussion. But in with regards to this one here, from what Maphorisa has stated, he was wrong on every level. And now, personally, granted, it was already looking a little weird, but now you've given even the casual fan a reason for pause and a reason to go back and say, wait a minute, if you did Samthing Soweto like this, and you're classing him with Sir True, now we have to go back and listen to what Sir True was trying to say about you, because a pattern is emerging. And you seem to be the perpetrator. Like, you're the common denominator in all these funny happenings. Why is that? What's going on there?
I'm trying to find a clip where Money Long was talking about the cost of putting music out there.
Oh, yeah.
I heard a clip of it on the Joe Budden podcast. Okay, I can't find it here, but if you do get a chance to look for it, just she was just breaking down the cost of, okay, so I'm an artist, I've created something. I need a professional sound engineer. I need someone to do the marketing and the promo. I need someone to do the placements and to do radio plugging. And she was breaking it down. It's going to cost this much. It's going to cost this much. If you're going to do an album, it's going to be my 19 tracks. It's going to be this much. It's going to be this much.
Sorry.
Before you know it, you're in $500,000. So, okay, I revised my thought. I'd said 20%. I'm going to say maybe 30 to 40%.
20% going to who?
I'm trying to
quantify. 20% going to who?
How much credit goes to the creator and how much credit goes to the machine?
So 20% goes to
does
who?
The admin, marketing, promo, etc. So I'd said 20%. But just thinking about it and discussing.
Please don't manage.
No.
I'm
talking about credit, right?
But
the reason I say this
also equals equity, right? You got to realize that, because
yes, but the reason I say this, Phil, is because once someone actually gains a certain level of leverage, they're able to argue on that level. It's only when you're new and unknown that you're not able to argue on that level. But the value of the art that you make hasn't changed.
Yes,
the
it has.
difference is
yes,
your
it
leverage.
has.
Your leverage is what has changed.
This is why I'm saying, like, your premise is incorrect. The value has changed, because value of art in this instance is a monetary value. Your art is worth X amount of dollars. That value is determined by how much money it is generated via the channels that we've exploited. For example,
and it's determined by how many people know you. My point.
No. It's determined by how many people buy. That's another thing we need to separate from. People knowing you means nothing. Absolutely
not necessarily.
No, Dan.
Let me finish. Because
let me finish.
In the streaming age, people don't buy.
Dan, once again, you're interrupting and not letting me finish. Streaming is buying. You pay. There's a pool of money. A song is reproduced. It generates mechanical and publishing royalties, which are paid out to the rights holders. So that is buying. It's at a lower rate, yes, than actual purchasing of a CD, but it's still a form of buying. So now we're getting stuck in the minutia of what buying and what does. People knowing you means nothing. It doesn't matter how many people know you, how many people are actively consuming your music on paid platforms and generating revenue. That is what matters. So if people don't know of your music, it doesn't matter how dope. You can have the dopest song. If there's one listener on Spotify, your music ain't worth jack-ish. And that's the tough argument we need to have with everyone.
Agreed.
So therefore, let me finish.
You need. Yeah, okay.
So if I then come as the label and I'm like, yo, you're a talent. I love what you're doing. Now let's build an ecosystem around you, right? Let's expose you to new markets. Let's get you collaborating. Let's get you touring. Let's get you on radio. Blue. All that is an expense and an investment. So I'm taking a risk because I'm now putting money. I'm giving you a loan, and I'm using this loan to increase the people that know of you, in the hopes that the people that know of you will then be converted to people that pay for your music in some form or fashion, consume music. But it's a risk because not only, once again, these are human beings. We're not just dealing with a robot or an entity. All things being equal, if this was a robot, it'll be a simple calculation. Can this robot continue to produce at this caliber for X amount of years? Then I can just do my ROI chart, break even. Okay, my break even point is here. This is where I'm profitable. I'd better listen. Until I break even, this is the percentage. After I break even, this is the percentage. Simple negotiation. But humans don't work like that because now there's variables. You got a life to live. You got emotional distress, blue, the changing market, etc, etc. So the people fronting the money are taking a massive risk. That's why record labels will always tout this. 1 in 9 artists fails, rather succeeds. So for every 10 artists that are invested in, only 1 turns a profit for a record label. Which means the record labels have to over-leverage themselves to make sure that one artist that succeeds pays for all the other artists that failed. Otherwise, the business no longer makes sense. If you've been paying attention to what's going on in the record label right now, there's a massive consolidation and firing because the record industry seems to be caving in on itself. That's a discussion for another day. My point being is, in that instance, when you have no leverage, as Dan rightfully said, it might just be worth it to be like, yo, guys, take it all. I just want the exposure. After you've gained the exposure, you've proved your value as an artist and an asset, etc. Then by all means, go back to the negotiation. And artists have done this. Lots of artists have done this. Go back and negotiate and say, listen, guys, when I made that first agreement, I was valued at X. I made a decision that was best for me and best for you. You guys have made your money back. I now need to earn more. They do it in sports, they do it in arts, movies, etc. Happens all the time. So, even within those discussions, there's variables because you don't know how good your lawyer is, what their relationships are like. You don't know how your catalog is performing, your metadata, which is another mess that Maphorisa is creating here is, what is the value of this music if everything is in dispute? Like a song was released, split sheets were not signed. So it can't fully be exploited. It can't be synced.
So I did want to move on to this, but so I'm not disagreeing with you, Phil. So just to clarify, ultimately this is financial. But when I'm talking about credit, I'm saying, let's follow the life cycle of an artist. Discovery, you're a nobody, but you have incredible talent. Someone with clout could be a record label, it could be a DJ Maphorisa, it could be a Kanye West, it could be a Jay-Z, whatever the case is. That person sees your talent and puts you on. So at that stage, you have zero leverage because you're a nobody. I will take anything. You guys are paying me $50. I was earning $0 yesterday, so give me that $50 and I create a multi-million-dollar hit. I still have zero leverage. After that hit comes out, I get a little bit of leverage. Fine. I'm not talking about that initial interaction. I'm talking about down the line. How much credit? You're now an established and successful artist. You're on your 3rd, 4th, 5th album, whatever the case is, and we know when you drop your album, it's going platinum. You're an incredible artist. You're Meg the Stallion. How much credit should that person who discovered and put you on? And I'm no longer talking about, I'm talking about this rant that Maphorisa had about how much influence he's had. How much credit should the person who put you on back then when you had zero leverage, zero whatever, zero everything? Now that you're successful, how much credit does that person get of your career?
And this is where
without him, yeah.
This is why
and I agree with you. This is such a huge discussion. It's a whole other episode. But I don't think it's straightforward. Without him, you would have had nothing. So does he take 100% credit? Of course not. Does he take 50% credit? That it takes both the talent and the person who put you on? I would argue, I don't think so. Because yes, he put you on, but as necessary as that put on is in the overall calculation of the credit that needs to be taken, I think there's a certain percentage that's less than 50 that should be taken. And you raised a great analogy. Essentially, a label is giving you a loan. If I start a business, I have $0. I'm broke. But I go to a bank, I say, this is my business plan. The bank says, you know what? We will take a risk on you. We will give you $50,000 for you to start your business. In that situation, the bank expects their $75,000 back with interest. But when my business is now valued at $5 billion, how much credit do they take? Well, Not unless part of our arrangement in the beginning, there was that they were going to have a certain amount of equity, and normally that equity would be measured in single-digit percentages. And I only know this because of watching Shark Tank and
single-digit percentages. Okay.
Yes.
Then you.
So hear me out.
Wait,
My point is,
but your example also.
yes.
Wait.
I would not have achieved what I did without your loan.
No. There's another major component that you're missing, which is why I'm like,
Yeah.
you're trying to simplify it and you're simplifying it too much, and it's not to the benefit of the listener, and even just in general, is that it's a loan also with business upscaling. So in Shark Tank, for example, if someone's selling a product, and it's happened a few times where when one of the sharks, and I've seen a few episodes, when they have access to distribution network, when they have access to retailers, when they have access to merchandise, and
Even
products,
just knowledge or
they
experience.
say, yo, listen, we have knowledge in this. We've got relationships with people in this industry. We've got access to warehousing, fulfillment, distribution, etc., etc. And they'll demand double-digit percentages. We'll give you X amount of upfront plus 30% equity because they know the value of that. And there is an incredible amount of value in that. Relationships, distribution, equity, branding, networking, etc., etc. If I were to tell you, yo, like, let's just say you're the artist, but you're in the industry as well, right? So this is a perfect example. You're sitting on an album of nothing but bangers. You come to me, we enter negotiation, and you hit me with that line. I'm not giving up more than 20%. I'm like, I bet. Cool. Pitch your song to the leads at radio stations and the DSPs. Do you know who they are? Like, do you know who's in charge of approving the songs and playlisting them at Spotify, at Apple Music, at Deezer, etc.? Do you know who's in charge of music at 5FM? Do you know how to submit music to them at 5FM? Do you know what format they need? All this stuff bleeds into each other. And that's the other thing that we can't negate is, and Vigro Deep knew this. Vigro had an incredible amount of talent, great music. He did not have access to the DJs. He did not have access to radio. He did not have access to the audience. So, anyway, I feel like now we've harped on quite a bit.
Look, it's a dope debate, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think it's worth the debate, and I would love to hear. I'm sure we'll have this in our Patreon group. And if you have some strong thoughts, especially if you're an artist or you're someone who's in the music game, I would love to hear your thoughts. Hit us up at 2 Broke Twimbos. We're now on the socials everywhere, even TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Weirdly enough, Phil, we get like 0 views on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook.
I don't know if we are
Facebook has been dead for quite some time. I don't even encourage clients to open Facebook accounts.
Yeah, but that's where the majority of our followers are.
Were, not are.
No, I mean in terms of pure numbers.
But they're not seeing our content then.
Yeah. No, because no one's on Facebook. I get that.
No, people are on Facebook, but Facebook makes you pay to reach your audience. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Anyway, Phil, I think we don't have to spend too much time on other things. Maybe let's just talk about this whole Holy 10 Zim Dancehall.
There's a few other dope topics I want to dig into today. Actually,
there's a ton of dope topics, Phil, but
we've left a few out. But actually, let's just try soldier through. I think
no, yeah, soldier through. We're 2 hours plus.
Let's discuss. Stop arguing. Let's discuss this one. Let's go.
Okay. I don't like getting too much into, hey, let's discuss controversies and gossip and whatever. I know Holy 10. I have his number in my phone. If I meet him, we'll greet each other. You know what I'm saying? That's different to, oh my God, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? When you know someone. Same with Voltz. The other day he was on radio and we had a brief conversation. So anyway, let me just paint this overall picture. Voltz JT was on a podcast. The podcast host very messily asked him about Holy 10's current wife. If you're unaware, Voltz JT and Holy 10 are probably the two hottest hip-hop acts in Zim at the moment. Voltz JT has pictures with Holy 10's current wife, Kimberly. Voltz JT at some point in the past either was with her or dated her or had her as a video vixen. I don't even know the details. Honestly, I don't even really care. So this messy podcast host was like, oh, so tell us about your relationship with da-da-da. And Voltz JT made some answer about, nah, I can't talk about someone's wife, da-da-da. So that was the whole situation, right? This obviously contributed to this ongoing beef somewhat that these guys have had. Anyway, Voltz JT then released his album. It seems a lot of people are responding very positively to his album, NOP Marconi. We spoke about it in our last episode, and it came out. So a lot of people are talking about Voltz JT. And as is expected, whenever there's two artists that pit themselves against each other, many people are like, hey, Holy 10 could never. Hey, Voltz JT has dunked on Holy 10. Hey, I have no doubt that these kind of narratives and discussions and whatever have reached the ears of Holy 10 and whatever. This is just a little bit of background story. Okay, so now we're at what actually happened. So, Holy 10 performed it Unplugged over this past weekend. I wasn't there, but from what I heard, Holy 10 had a not great performance, and he spent a large part of his performance time ranting about Voltz JT, a la Kanye West. After that Unplugged performance, Holy 10 made his way to the infamous Zim Dancehall Harare Cup clash. And there's videos that show him very visibly drunk, addressing the crowd, trying to hype up Zim Dancehall and saying, yo, I've disrespected dancehall, da-da-da, and he falls off the stage in his drunk state. After this event, Holy 10 goes onto his Instagram and he starts... Because obviously people were saying, what's going on with Holy 10? He seems, the famous rapper that seems to be spiraling, blah, 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 blah. Is he on something, etc.? So Holy 10, in the early hours of, I think it was a Sunday morning, I think, he posts a video on his Instagram accusing Voltz JT of being on drugs. Says he's a codeine addict. And you guys are coming for me. Let's go for drug tests. Let's go for drug tests. We can go for drug tests right now. Da, da, da. Tomorrow, let's do drug tests right now. Let's do it.
Which drugs are they
Problem is, I
testing
know
for?
you people. I know your true colors. Da, 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 da. Right? Voltz JT didn't respond to this. Then, while this is happening, I'm going to add a third party to the story. Kiki Badass. I wonder if we can call her. We've tried to call her a couple of times on this podcast. Kiki Badass. Some of these messy social media accounts post the clip from this podcast where Voltz JT is asked about Holy 10's wife. That, oh, snap, this man who's your op, apparently you have a history with his wife. And his response was, hey, yo, I'm not going to talk about another man's wife. Kiki Badass goes in the comments of that clip and says, yo, this was a very mature thing to say, da-da-da, shout out to Voltz JT. And then Holy 10 responds under that comment, insulting her with some very crude language and, basically he says some crude stuff, right? The next day, Kiki Badass posts on her Instagram, she's like, yo, now that you've come and threatened my kid, this obviously happened outside of our knowledge. Then what I was holding back, I'm no longer holding back. And then she puts out some crazy allegations about, him being on drugs. And she intimates and hints on a lot of things. I'm not going to get into many details because we're not trying to be a gossip discussion podcast. But this is just an overview of this whole drama that's going on with Holy 10, Voltz JT. And then the most recent situation is Holy 10 then went on to that same podcast that interviewed Voltz. Some clips I don't know if the full episodes come out, but I saw some clips were circulating. I think maybe just promo clips. And yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm here to tell my story. And he was very obviously saying some very incendiary stuff. Like, for example, he says, Winky D is my son. Stuff like that. I've heard him in an interview before say that sometimes he deliberately does controversial stuff for releases and so on. Anyway, so this is the overview of the whole story. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but the one thing that I do want to say is Holy 10 is, through his own hard work and his own talent, he has positioned himself at the pinnacle of Zim hip hop. At a time that Zim hip hop is in a, I don't know what to call it, a renaissance maybe, or Holy 10 is that dude. Holy 10 has survived so many potential disasters. Do you remember when Holy 10 allied himself with ZANU PF and people responded to that so negatively? Yet still, if a song has Holy 10 on it, it's a hit. It's got 100, 200, 500, a million views on YouTube. It's going to the top of the charts on the radio stations. So Holy 10 is in this position where he's at the pinnacle of public sentiment. Even people who don't pay attention to hip-hop like that know Holy 10. They know some of his songs. Some of his songs are hits that everyone can sing along to. I think that Holy 10 needs someone to manage his PR. I don't want to comment on his private life or who he is. I mean, artists be artists. You know what I'm saying? You can pick any successful artist anywhere in the world, America, Europe, Asia, whatever the case is. They're successful artists and they go through all kinds of weird controversies, whatever. But they have teams around them. They have teams who manage their PR. They have teams who manage how they look in public and where they do their interviews and what they say. They've got media training on what to say and talk in interviews, and like that whole ecosystem exists because they're making money from their art. I don't know. I honestly don't know that much about Holy 10's private life. What I do know for a fact is he needs someone to manage his PR. What do you think, Philip?
I think PR is the last thing you should be worried about. I think there's more serious things that need to be addressed. I mean, like the stuff we've seen, not even the stuff that's alleged that we haven't seen. I think just from the stuff we've seen. You and Voltz have had this love-hate relationship. It felt like you guys had made up when you guys were on tour. You guys were civil. You'd done a couple of shows together. Obviously, you guys don't need to be best of friends, but at least you guys had seemed to make up. And then Voltz does the right thing. I think, all things being equal, I think he said the right thing. If I was his management, I would have advised him to say it in a slightly different way, because instead of saying, yo, I don't want to speak about someone who's now married with kids, you should have just said, yo, I'm here to discuss music. I'm not here to gossip, and leave it at that. Because the first way you answered it, granted, you shut it down, but you kind of left room for people to infer that, oh, so there is something to discuss. You just don't want to discuss it. Right?
Which, I mean, if that's your op, you're still gonna, honestly, I can't fault him for what he said.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm nitpicking. But also, but even if that, for example, even if he's your op, if he's not, whatever, if that then elicits that response in public, because I'm assuming you have his number, you have his team's number, you have his Instagram or something, like at the very least, that's what you should have done next as Holy 10 now. Is like, call him, my guy, listen, I don't appreciate this being said about my family, blah, 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 blah. And you air your grievance there. The fact that you then rush to Twitter, or rather Instagram, problem one. Problem two is you then now start trying to throw shots at him at Unplugged. And now you get booed, well, not booed off stage, but you get booed. And then, as far as from what I've heard from witnesses, the MCs had to intercede, calm things down, and then you delivered a performance, but it wasn't a great one. So, issue number two. Issue number three is you now get so lit. I don't know. Let's just say he was tired. Let's not even infer he was drunk. You're so tired. You now perform at Cub Clash, exhausted. Your wits aren't about you.
No, he admitted he was drunk. He said, "Yo, I love beer." On this other podcast, I said, "Yo, I love beer. I was drunk. My bad."
See, I was trying to help you, bro. I was trying to cover for you.
That's why I'm saying PR. I agree with you, Phil. The other issues, but everyone's got issues, man. Y'all got to deal with them on your own. I'm just thinking from a media perspective.
From a PR aspect, yeah. And it's really, really
it's not
tough.
messing with your bag, bruh.
And it's not like there was much of and this is not a shot, but it's just a fact. It's not like there's much. We've actually broken down on this podcast. I don't think you were here. There was an episode where you were here, and then even the episode with Plot Marco, we went down the figures, and we know how much money is available for Zim artists. So we know how much that bag is. So there's not much of a bag to give away in the first place. So you don't have this luxury of basically letting money go. So it's a mess all around, yo. And now apparently you threatened Kiki's daughter. Kiki's now coming for you. Like, do you need this? Like, there's only so many places you can go, only so many places you can perform. Now, do you have a situation where it's on the site with her and her squad and whatever goons she might decide to roll up on you with? It's just a mess all around, yo.
Yeah. And it's such a again, for clarity's sake, obviously I don't know all the details. But as someone outside looking in, I feel like it's such a sad space to be where potential collaborations, growth, positivity, Zim hip hop seems to be in such a positive space, is now marred by conversations about, hey, Ningi's wife, hey, like it just feels like such a missed opportunity for, imagine if everyone was talking about this incredible collaboration that got 10 million views. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's just, and then again, maybe any attention is good attention, but I don't believe that. So that's the whole story going on with Holy 10, Voltz JT, very truncated without getting into too much details. I know some of you probably know a lot of the in-depth, behind-the-scenes, nuanced conversations. I don't have that, unfortunately, because, frankly, I'm not trying to get into messy situations like that, but that's that story. I wanted to address that very briefly. The only other thing, I don't know if there's something else you want to address, Phil.
This ice spice tea, we gotta discuss this ice spice tea. Oh my god,
I don't want to.
Nah, it's fine. Yeah, I don't want
to. The only other thing I wanted to mention was this Zim Dancehall Cup clash. So the idea behind the cup clash, right, is to find like who's like the best freestyler, the best live performer. It's like a thing, you know, and it happens every year, and yeah, it's a whole thing. But I just feel like, and maybe this is my Chisalad, maybe elite mindset or whatever talking, but I feel like it's such an opportunity to grow, promote, be positive. But it always and again, I haven't been just from the clips I've seen. It gives me the feeling that it's more about mess, you know, controversy. And I say this, I'm just on a podcast sharing opinions. I say this with the caveat and the realization that I wasn't there. I don't know the full story. All I'm referring to are clips. But just judging from those clips, it feels like it's such a missed opportunity for a celebration versus controversies. Do you know what I mean? Maybe we need to attend the next Cup Clash, Phil, so we know what we're talking about. Let's go to the next Cup Clash.
Then why? You know you're not going to be there.
No, but we should.
No, I'm out of these streets. You're not.
This is also very true. But I should go to at least one or two. Just be seen here and there. Try out some things.
Not even that. I've spoken to you about this. I'm like, Dan, you can't really speak about the scene without actually being part of the scene.
This is very true. And this is why I've also said to you before, Phil, that you know what? I think it's time that we need to start recruiting people who are actually going to be part of the scene. I'm sorry. I'm not going to re-enter going out so that I can come onto this podcast and talk from a place of experience. I have... You go out because there's other things that you are making sure that you're good for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not... Just for the sake of the podcast, look, I love you guys. but I'm not going to the Cup Clash just so that I can talk to you guys about it here on the podcast. If the Patreon subscriptions go up, maybe, but just. But for the sake of experience, I do want to experience some of these things. Experience 10, 20,000 people in city sports all vibing to freestyle by Silent Killer. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You need to experience that kind of energy. You know what I'm saying? Anyway.
All right, let's do a quick rundown of some TV stuff. You have been our Bo DeMayo correspondent.
Dan, we currently have an update in the Bo DeMayo situation. Can you please give us a rundown of what happened this week on OnlyFans?
Unfortunately, I cannot give you a rundown. Our lovely patrons shared with us an update in the group. I literally saw that link and I was like, "Oh, can't wait to read this," but I haven't read it yet.
Oh, I can update you. So basically,
Please,
Bo DeMayo,
a quick one, Philip.
as Disney seems to have begun promo and PR for season 2 of X-Men 97, Bo DeMayo also chose to fire back. So his lawyer released a statement, and then so did Bo DeMayo via his OnlyFans. A 30-minute video. Obviously, I haven't watched it because I don't even know how to get to OnlyFans. I don't like, my browsers don't get there. I don't know anything about OnlyFans. And if you ever see an OnlyFans charge on my credit card, it was a mistake. Anyway, that's for the relevant parties in case they hear this. But so Bo DeMayo alleged that basically toxic work environment at Disney. They didn't allow him to flourish. When he started raising questions about the working conditions, that's when he started being stymied. A day after he went to speak to HR about an issue that he felt he was feeling discriminated against as a gay black man, that's when he was removed from season 2. He was then also forced, according to him and his lawyer, forced to sign a legal NDA and a restraint of trade agreement, which basically muzzled him from speaking about the events. And he's now asked a judge to, for an injunction against the NDA so that he can now start dropping receipts, which is another thing he also doubled down on OnlyFans by stating, I have all the receipts to prove my side of the story. Please don't continue to throw dirt on my name because I will release these. But he can't release them because it would violate his NDA. So it's like a catch-22. As we've also discussed last time.
Did he say anything about the allegations?
That's what I was going to get to. That's what I was going to get to. So as we discussed, according to, I haven't seen the video, I only read summaries. He had not addressed the allegations. I don't know if he's just trying to see if they'll go away or not. But there was no mention of these allegations, no acknowledgement of them, no addressing of them in any form or fashion. So, but he also did intimate that a smear campaign was being run by Disney. So maybe that was his way of trying to say that these allegations are part of the smear campaign. I don't know.
So, if I understand correctly, my man, the hill that he is dying on is the reason I was taken off credits at Disney is because they're discriminating against gay black men. I have no doubt that gay black men get discriminated against all the time. I'm just finding it very hard to believe that someone at Disney was like, "What? You're telling me the head writer of this show was a gay black man? Take him off the credits."
No, they're not alleging. He's not alleging that. He's alleging that it was a long-standing pattern of discrimination that culminated in that. But the credits issue was one of the last actions. Because keep in mind, the credits, him being taken off the credits and him not being invited to the Golden Globes.
Premiere. The Golden Globes.
The Golden Globes was one of the last actions taken. He alleges the first actions were him being minimized and being discriminated against in the workplace. So we'll see how the story unfolds. I'll wait for you to catch up because this is your department, Dan. Get on the ball here, buddy.
The ball has been dropped. I will sort it out. I will read all the articles. I'll watch the relevant TikToks, and I shall update you in the next episode.
You put here the Grand Tour finale. Sadly, I used to be the biggest fan of Clarkson. I still have a massive collection of Top Gear magazines back at home and the DVDs. But after the third racist scandal, I was like, I can't continue to support this man.
May I tell you guys? I tell you guys all the time. Everyone who is your fave in any kind of media, music, TV, movies, whatever, they are not good people. All of them. I advocate for, please, actually, when you see an article come up about Bo DeMeo, we're sitting here. I actually don't even want to know if Bo DeMeo is a terrible person because I loved X-Men 97. The only reason I'm somewhat invested in this story is because of, he said what? They said what? Otherwise, guys, your faves are all terrible people, including Clarkson and them. But anyway, Top Gear, which was Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond. They now have a show called they had a show called The Grand Tour, and they sort of continue the same sort of idea, and now they are doing the final ever Grand Tour show. They're saying farewell. We're expecting the episode to come out next week, and apparently their final episode was shot in Zimbabwe, and they put out a trailer for it. Honestly, it looks dope. I was looking at it like, man, I can't wait to watch this, man. Damn, that's the country that I'm from. So yeah, it should be coming out next week. And they claim we saved the best for last. So the finale for the three of them together, James May, Richard Hammond, and the controversial Jeremy Clarkson, features an episode in Zimbabwe.
How many times do you think they said Rhodesia?
I don't think they said it once, but how many times do you think they showed surprise at a supermarket a la Tiffany Haddish?
Yeah, I was speaking. No, I can't even talk about it. But Tiffany's a character, yo. I can't even talk about her. We'll talk about it off camera. But apparently she's very nice.
Phil says Kaos is amazing, by the way. We spoke about it last week when I said that there was a Zimbabwean directing a bunch of the episodes.
Fam. Yo, the writing. It's good. It's good. Yeah, so
he's good, he's nice.
I wanted to discuss this because there's a talking point I want to get to, and I'm going to come back to it. So Dan,
I haven't watched it, so no spoilers.
No, I'm not going to give you spoilers. But Kaos is, to me, is a great show. I think even as listeners and patrons, let's watch it together because I really am enjoying it. Not since there was a very short-lived show that did one season called Kings back in the day, Dan. I don't know if you ever watched it. And it was based on the story of David from the Bible, but a modern retelling of it. And
really,
I loved that show. Like, I really got into it because it tapped into like religious iconography and theology and history, but then updating it so it like resonates in a different way. And Kaos does the same thing where it takes essentially what is public knowledge is Kaos is set in a world where the Greek gods are real. It's modern day, but with all the Greek gods. And it's an adaptation of all the Greek mythology. So you're gonna have Zeus, you got Hera, you got Prometheus, you got Hades, you got Orpheus, Persephone, the whole gang is there. And it
well done for using the Greek names and not the Roman ones.
Yeah, and it ties into the theology. So as you know, Dan, and I'm sure it was same with you, growing up because of our religious rearing, we were not allowed to read about the Greek mythology because worldly. So I didn't know much. I knew like I wasn't anyway. That stuff was quickly disposed of. So I knew of the top line
history.
stuff. I knew of the top
I did
line
classics.
stuff.
I literally chose classics as a subject in school, and classics was classical studies, Greek and Roman mythology.
So we didn't have that in our school syllabus, but we did have in English lit, we did have an overview. So I did know that. But it would literally just be like a couple of pages each chapter. This is Zeus, this is Hercules, you know what I mean? This is Hera, blah, blah, blah. Plus, it wasn't even, I don't remember doing it as part of Cambridge O-levels. So we weren't tested on it. So I wasn't really inspired to remember it. So the stuff I knew of was just the stuff that was in pop culture, right? Anyway, so it was also fun just like reading up on all these gods. Because now like you see the god and then everyone has like a backstory that's tied to Greek mythology. So the show is even better when you know who that god is or what their story is. So I was doing what we always do when we watch a TV show. Now I'm going like, oh snap, pause. Okay, so Zeus did that. Okay, Medusa. Oh yeah, that's the story of Medusa. Okay, yo, that's crazy. Okay, that's tragic. Okay, so now I'm getting, because they tie it all in. So it's a really well written show. And the other thing I really enjoyed about this show is, excuse me, it's bucking the trend of recent shows that are very high budget but low value. And a lot of in the forums I'm in, a lot of people have been ranting about this recently because like Amazon, I think it's Citadel. Citadel has a budget of 300 million for 6 episodes. No one knows about it. We had the Lord of the Rings adaptation on Amazon. That was $500 million just for the rights, not even the production. 2 seasons have dropped crickets. It just, I
like it. I haven't watched season 2, but I enjoyed season 1.
And that is great, but and I think that's also in terms of a commercial enterprise, right? If you spend $500 million minimum, you're not spending $500 million to make a dope cult classic TV show on streaming. You're trying to make a hit, which leads me to my other point. And the issue that I think, which is weird because Netflix are the ones who created this problem, but Netflix seem to have figured out a solution, granted the small sample size. But Netflix aren't really spending that much on TV shows anymore. Since House of Cards, I'm struggling to recall a large budget TV show they spend on. They do spend large budgets on movies. The Ryan Reynolds movie with The Rock, I remember, and Gal Gadot. Now they've got the sequel coming up. What's called?
Red something.
Yeah, Red something. Then that other movie with Ryan Gosling, with the extended drone shots where he's like an agent that gets betrayed, and then the Extraction series. And I actually enjoy those movies. They're good, like they're fun action watches, but they're not like movies I'm gonna go back to a lot of times. And I maybe for a younger demographic they will be, because I'll go back to like Bad Boys and stuff because there's nostalgia there. Anyway, point being is with Kaos, it sounds like the premise for a big budget show, right? And it's a well-written show, but watching it, I'm like, these guys don't really have a budget. Because there's so many times the gods do god things, like superhero things, but it happens off camera. Which I actually...
So is this... This is very interesting to me. So does the fact that it seems low budget, does that add to the enjoyment of the series?
I enjoyed it because now I can tell that they're investing more in character development and writing, as opposed to just relying on boom, bang, pow, pow, pow. Yes, there's action and they've got a stellar cast. Like the cast is dope. You've got Jeff Goldblum, and he's doing his thing. You've got Eddie Izzard. I was like, oh snap, Eddie's in this. Dope. There's so many dope. The cast is dope. So obviously they didn't skimp on that. But it's just, they've even got like the score. They've got this original score that plays throughout the show. Mwah! Loved it. So point being, if you can, let's watch it together, because I want to give it a second. I want to give it a watch. I haven't finished it yet, but so far so good, and I hope it gets renewed. And I also want, because the other thing that I was discussing is, and another thing that I've noticed is, and it links to, let me see, where should I start? Let me start with George R. R. Martin, because it's a quick one. Yesterday, George R. R. Martin,
make it quick, Phil. 2 minutes.
We've discussed House of the Dragon, or Hot D as we called it in the streets. A lot of people were disappointed with season 2. I think it was
included.
Heavy spoilers. Said something that kind of went far and wide, which is like the season finale of House of the Dragon felt like episode 8 in a 10 episode series, and I would agree with that. And
I would say the entire season 2 felt like episode 1 and 2 of the
Yeah,
season.
it felt very stretched out.
Like they stretched it out, and like something very valid I also saw was if the entire season didn't exist, the show actually could continue.
Mm-hmm.
Like the entire season didn't exist. Yes, there's a few critical things that happened. Those could,
But
honestly,
those
could be-
those critical things ended in episode 2. Most of them, like the major issue happened in episode 2 and episode 4, and then after that was
So literally, you could literally have got. So season 2 could have just not existed
It could have just been 2 episodes in season 3.
because episode 1 ended with, and now the stage is set for war, and then season 2 ended in. And now the stage is set for war. It's like, yo, we're like in the same place we were last season.
Like you guys literally
But-
just spent a whole season. One dude was on a 2-week long acid trip. You burnt a couple of bastards. Killed the baby. And now there's rats everywhere. That's a summary of season 2.
That's the entire season.
So anyway, George R. R. Martin, he had dropped a blog post soon after Blood and Cheese where it was like, listen, I don't know if you read that post where he was like, the problem with TV shows and adaptations is the showrunners think they know more than the writer. And he was throwing slight jabs. And like, if I think you and I knew what he was trying to get at, or kind of could deduce what he was trying to get at, but we can't speak for him. But it became very apparent as the show continued what he might have been alluding to, because they deviate from the books, and they deviate in very small and sometimes somewhat big ways. Not to drop any spoilers just in case. But in this latest blog post, which has now since been removed, he speaks about his arguments with Ryan Condal. Ryan Condal is the lead showrunner for House of the Dragon. And George R. R. Martin spoke about, these guys are making small changes because of budgetary constraints, for example, but these have big ramifications. So I'm not gonna spoil it too much, but one of the budgetary constraints that they mention is Aegon and Helena have a child missing, right? They don't mention this child, they don't show this child, so it's safe to assume this child does not exist in the TV adaptation. But this child, though they play a small role, their existence has knock-on effects that lead to very big events in season 3 and season 4. And basically what George R. R. Martin was saying, they decided not to have this extra child because there's restrictions and limitations about having a child on set, the cost of flying the child out because you didn't have fly the child, the guardians, etc. So because of budgetary constraints, decisions are being made that affect the story. And he makes mention of the butterfly effect, where he's like, you guys might think these have small ramifications, but they actually have big ramifications, because I don't even know how this is going to be addressed, because Ryan hasn't spoken to me about this. Like I've seen some of the things. Ultimately, I've signed away the rights to the books. All I am is a producer and a consultant. He alludes to that. He doesn't say that, but that's pretty much what it is, because it's fair to say the way Game of Thrones ended and the way House of the Dragon is going, George is not too happy, because especially with House of the Dragon. And for me, as a fan of the books, because I have read these ones, and the frustrating part is, with the books that House of the Dragon is based on, there's so much room for interpretation already, because it's a retelling of it's a summary of events from 2 different perspectives. So you have so much gray area in which to develop your character, develop motivations.
Both of them unreliable, by the way.
Exactly.
Because one is politically motivated, and the other is basically a drunken, lecherous jester of the court.
Yeah.
So honestly, you could do anything.
Yeah, but there is general consensus throughout their tellings. You know what I mean? Like on the big stuff. How many kids were there? When did this battle happen? Who won? Who lost? What the motivations were for? You know what I mean? The intricacies are gray areas which you have room to play with, which to me as a writer would be perfect, because I'm like, you guys already have the skeleton. All I have to do is just flesh this out. I've got room to play here. But now
I feel like my thing is like, okay, if your reason is budgets, we can't add another child just for the story. Maybe fine. Maybe don't bring the child in But you can
Mention
it can
it.
happen off screen.
You can even just
Yeah,
mention
mention it. It happens off screen. Yeah.
Fam. So there's so many, and that kind of leads to the issue that George has, and even I'm having, and a lot of fans are having. Is like, yo,
But Phil, you're giving a lot of screen time to George here for someone who still hasn't released Winds of Winter. Frankly,
he's
I actually
busy.
don't want to hear what your
He's
opinion is.
busy writing blog posts. Dan, how dare you? How
I
dare
don't
you?
care what you think about Hot D. I don't care what you think about D&D. I don't care. Winds of Winter, how far? How far, George?
This man,
Georgie?
George might be going through things in his life. Anyway,
I don't care. Give us the book.
so obviously this caused a furore at Max, HBO, Warner Brothers. I don't even know what name of the company is anymore. Because the blog post was removed a few hours afterwards, and then they released a PR statement trying to squash it. But it's very evident, and I can kind of understand where George is coming from. Where this leads into where I wanted to take this conversation is what I've been finding interesting is HBO had a golden brand, Premiere TV. And when they were specifically and primarily delivering to cable and their HBO Max platform, which had its own subscriber base simply for HBO, they were making money hand over fist, and they were able to invest that money back into their TV shows. So we saw the golden age of TV. I think season 9 of Game of Thrones is the highest, well, up until Citadel, is the most money spent on a TV show. I believe it was 200 million, if I'm not mistaken, for a season.
I wouldn't know. I don't know.
Let's assume it's 200 million. That is an insane amount of money. That is 10 independent movies for a TV show in a season. Let's see. Game of Thrones season 8 budget. I just want to make sure we get this figure right, Dan. Yo, 90 million, $15 per episode. Yeah. So it was essentially 50. That is an independent movie. Marlon Wayans was literally just on Club Shay Shay saying that he shot Don't Be a Menace for $1 million. So 15 versions. So the budgets were insane. So now Adam Conover and a bunch of other people have been speaking about this, and they're like, TV made a massive mistake. When Netflix came, Netflix changed how TV was consumed and ultimately how it was produced. Netflix has now pioneered shorter seasons that are more bingeable, shorter episodes that are bingeable, so that someone can literally binge a show in a night. They've said that on public records and earning calls. But general TV doesn't operate that way. Also, the pricing model does not make sense. We've discussed it on this podcast before. DSTV, for example, close to $100 a month. Netflix, with a similar set of programming, except for live sports, 1/10 of that price. That's not a sustainable business. And it's been subsidized by the investors. TV operated on a very different model, where they would screen a TV show, run ads against that TV show, make their money that way. And for Premiere TV with no ads, you'd pay a Premiere price and watch with no ads. That was very profitable for both parties. When Netflix started stealing market share, or to their perception started stealing their market share, they panicked and they tried to become Netflix. And they've all failed. Peacock, about to bust. Hulu, heavily subsidized by Disney. Disney Plus, subsidized by Disney. Disney and Hulu, both not profitable. HBO Max, not profitable. Well, now Max, because now it's been merged with all the other brands. That's another thing. HBO and Warner, rather. Warner killed the HBO brand, which is Premiere Video. They removed the HBO from the title, which removed all the brand equity that they had. Wait, what are you at? Paramount Plus, we've discussed. The sale is just about to go through. They're in limbo. They are struggling. So the streaming model does not work for these streamers. And now one of the knock-on effects of that is, because of two bad decisions, particularly on the HBO Warner Brothers side, which was overinvestment in Game of Thrones initially for the last seasons, turning a great political drama into an action TV show that did not pay much attention to the motivations of the characters. You then end up spending close to $200 million on the last 3 seasons, and some of the most disappointed fans in TV history. You then overcorrect for that with House of the Dragon by making them focus on the writing, limiting their budget, but also while limiting their budget, they now have to make concessions like what Homie just discussed that impact the show. So now you've created this massive lose-lose situation where people are going to be frustrated on both sides of the fence. And I've just found that very interesting.
I have some theories about just the state of streaming media and the state of all these content platforms that I will not discuss in this episode because we have to wrap it up, Phil. I need to get onto a call very quickly. But it is a very interesting discussion, and I will save it for a future episode. But I have to insist that we end this here.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for lending us your ears and paying attention to another episode of Two Broke Twimbos. My name is Danny That Guy. Shout out to Phil Chard. You can support us on the social medias by looking for us or by following Two Broke Twimbos. You can also become a Patreon by simply going to twobroketwimbos.com/donate. And over there, you'll find a button to Patreon. And for just a low price of $5 is the lowest tier. But you know, you make more money than that. You know what I'm saying? You are actually a serious member of society that actually contributes. You can aim for a higher tier than that. We would greatly appreciate your support, and it allows us to keep on making this podcast. If you do find clips of this somewhere on the socials, do us a favor, just retweet, drop a like, even drop a comment in there. Tell us we're idiots, or tell us you love us, or tell us that was funny, or just drop laughing emojis, or drop thinking emojis. If we say something clever and intelligent, we would greatly appreciate it. We're going to drop something new, something hot that's come out, but we're going to have to end it here. I have to say thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure, and we will catch you on the next one. We out.
Oh, sorry, just one final note. We might be taking a short break, so just look. If you don't see us updating, please don't adjust your TVs and don't unsubscribe. We just need to take a few weeks just to recharge and recuperate, especially as we're both traveling soon. So just a heads up, we'll update you guys on the socials and in the Patreon group. Thank you. So we'll catch you next week or not.
Get bored.
I bring you mukamujaja nesenyu sheli yangu mukamunya zasenyu chido I bring you mukamujaja nesenyu mamita mututu selama tutu mukamunyomba zasenyu so ajadaro 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 mazuano hakuna mata kuyenda kuzabati 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 uyu aivura umbe usina kesh shua aulume tekona katese paninga patime danembo sivari chadzima kasimbe aravese pamutsara kunge pachikayo chero changoda ingowa kwaya chero kachifayo ajadaro 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 mazuano hakuna mata kuyenda kuzabati 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 shiri yang unuwesi ingoti shiri yang shiri yang shiri yang uya kuno katima ke muri yang zaishiwa magomana pano wandisi kuumana zaishiwa magomana pano wandisi kuumana na na ajadaro 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 mazuano hakuna mata kuyenda kuzabati mazuano hakuna mata kuyenda kuzabati mazuano hakuna
kuzwana kuna mata